Salutation. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Podcast. Apologies that we're late. It's completely my fault. I sincerely apologize. I've got a sick little one, and I just couldn't listen to her scream. So I had to carry her around the house for a little bit just to give the missus a bit of a reprieve. And then I had tech issues, which is standard operating procedure. But welcome back. It's going to be a good show. There's lots to talk about. There's some a lot of differing opinions about the PS5 Pro, which we're going to be talking about that. We're going to talk about Astrobot. We're going to talk about Space Marine. We're going to talk about gaming in general. Holly, welcome back. How you been? How's your week been? What have you been up to?
Hello, everyone.
Happy
muted. Friday. No, I'm not.
No, you're not. That's me. You keep going.
Happy Friday, Saturday, or it can literally only be Friday or Saturday right now. So that's
right.
it. Like, yes. Hello. Hi. How are you doing?
Okay. Salutation.
It's been an interesting week. There's been some, not tons of news, but a little, and Donte has a fly in his face. And we're gonna talk about. Can we talk a little bit about our experience in Warhammer last night and what happened tech wise? That would be cool.
I was waving hi, actually.
Just for a second.
I was saying hi.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can spin it how you need to. That's fine. And then I've been playing Astrobot and I've been playing Fallout 76, and that's pretty much it. Warhammer and Astrobot. Oh, Red and I played through Gears 1 on insane difficulty, or whatever that is, the hardcore insane, whatever they call it. We finished it and we started Gears 2, and that's a conversation. I do not remember anything about 2 and 3, so this is like a good refresher. But we loaded into 2 and it's back compat, and so all the frames are there and everything, but oh brother, the graphics in that game are they have not aged like a fine wine, unlike Marcus. Like, Marcus looked like a raisinette. He had these like weird lines in his neck and his face. Anya was like a plasticized, like flat-faced Barbie. Dom just looked, it didn't look like Dom. But the gameplay itself is actually still absolutely fantastic. Like, the actual gameplay itself plays it's like identical to 4 and 5, which is really a testament, to how future-proof they were with the actual like movement and the shooting and the reloads and all of that stuff. It's all the same. But man, that game could use a full remake. Probably 3 as well, but I haven't got there yet. 2008, Gears 2 came out. So, anyway, that's been my week. That's a lot, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I've had an interesting week, but we'll get to me in a minute. Umbra, how has your week been? What have you been up to? Playing some bangers?
Yeah, man, it's been a pretty good week. I had platinumed Astrobot. Haven't really played much else, actually. Yeah. Now you finally use the horse appropriately. Platinum that. And I did play a bit on the ROG Ally. I almost betrayed my ROG goons just now. I played a bit on that. Played like just little Metroidvanias that I've just trying out to see how they were. Didn't really get all the way into it, but that's really it for me. I still need to get Space Marines 2. I actually bought Space Marines Anniversary Edition on PC. I have to try that out. I feel almost like I want to go through that first before I get to part 2 now, since I bought it. But yeah, other than that, not a ton of gaming. More just kind of watching things and appearing on podcasts. Jumped on Ginger's podcast today, Ginger Prime, for those who don't know. And I'll be stopping by for Mav after we finish up here for their 200th episode. Other than that, man, just happy to be here with you guys.
Absolutely. That's crazy, that 200th episode. may pop through as well. Depends on where the kids are at and what the missus is doing. But Donte, how's your week been? What have you been up to? How's things? What have you been playing?
Yo, my week has been good. Just got through with work actually before I hopped onto the stream. What am I playing right now? I'm playing I'm actually in happy mode for enjoying gaming right now, at least for me. So I'm playing Space Marine 2 with the boys. And then for my single player stuff, I'm actually playing Outlaws, and I'm having a blast with it. So I'm probably like 30 some odd hours into Outlaws, and I barely just got there with my second planet. And I'm kind of doing this thing where I'm balancing the factions, where I made sure I'm like everybody I'm topping, getting completely like all their gear, so I completely get my rep up to its highest point, so I can get their special gear, and then that's when I start, crossing people over and all that stuff. But yeah, man, that's pretty much what I'm doing right now, and just ready to talk some games.
Yeah, absolutely. My week has been pretty flat out with work, but when I got home, I've been trying to cram a whole bunch of games into one. So I played a fair bit of Space Marine 2. I think probably about a quarter of the way through that. I looking and doing the topics last night, I was like, damn, there's not really a whole lot that I want to talk about, but mostly games. So I was like, well, I better jump out there and get Astrobot. So I managed to jam probably about 2 hours of Astrobot last night, and I may not align with almost the entire internet. Yeah, I've only played 2 hours, so it's not very long. But
wait, yeah, who all has Astrobot that's playing it on the panel?
Umbra's got his hand up. Yeah.
All right,
but
ponies. Pony ass ponies.
Pony ass
ponies.
What was the question? What was the question exactly?
Just playing. Who's playing Astrobot? But I'm giving y'all shit.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I'm not. I don't know. I'm not super into it, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that one later on. But Space Marine 2, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Riskit said Astrobot was his game of the year.
No, I did not.
I heard you. You said it in chat, fam. I'm sorry. I'll
pony
post
bot.
the DMs to Twitter.
Everybody reported far and wide.
I'll post the DMs. I'll post them. Riskit was going harder than Jeff was going for the PS5 Pro announcement.
You all should have seen it. He pulled the DualSense up in front of us and started blowing into it. I'm like, what are you doing? That's insane.
Pretty wild, man.
I wish I had the DualSense in the office in the studio, but I don't have it until it's out in the lounge because I play it so often. No, I don't. I've got a few TVs. I've got more than Nicola's got because apparently he's only got one shitty TV. But yeah, let's jump into the PS5 Pro because there's a lot to talk about here, and I've got a lot of sort of ground I want to cover, and I don't know. I think people are being a little bit unfair in ways and a little bit too fair in other ways. But I think we can say one thing is for sure: this is clearly the fault of the Series S. First of all, though, of course, I need to take a victory lap. Just a little victory lap because I called this at the beginning of the generation. Come on now. Give me my flowers.
What did you call? What'd you call?
There was going to be a Pro. There was a lot of people saying that there wasn't going to be a Pro. Like, there's no reason for it. It's not going to happen. Blah, 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 blah. But Riskit was right. Someone else is right too, though. Yeah.
Still doesn't mean that there's a reason for it. That part you can't say.
We'll get into that.
Well, I get to brag too, right? Yeah.
You do. You do.
Yes. Take that, Holly.
Music back up.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know you then.
Somebody has to take it.
Yeah. We'd be taking somebody's knees, but they removed their knees from the equation. So I guess we'll have to have pretend knees. Well, let's jump into it. So I've got a few questions sort of for the panel and just that I want to go around with. I guess the first thing is that I personally didn't think it showed well. I think it showed badly. A lot of people were pulling up the one-to-one comparison photos, and there is clearly a difference. I have no problem with like saying the difference is minor, but when you're looking at a still shot from a 30 FPS and a 60 FPS, there's always the clarity in the 60 FPS is always there, like you can see it. So, I mean, it's there, but it's minimal, right? It's not a massive, huge difference. It's the difference between 30 and 60. That's a clear difference. We all know what that is. That's really what they were showing. Like, here's 30 and here's 60. I mean, that's not really selling it well. They didn't show any new games. They didn't show anything shiny and new that you would be like, absolutely, I definitely need to get this thing because I want to play this thing. Like they didn't show GTA 6. They didn't show a little snippet of Wolverine. There was like really nothing there to pitch it to casuals, to your tech heads who are like, I just want every game at 60. Well, we're still going to be disappointed because apparently we're not getting every game at 60. So I'm really confused as to what this. This is the other thing that's just I've found hilarious, and I've tried to stay out of the discourse on Twitter as much as I can. But I'm like, every game that Sony has released has been at 60, and the PlayStation fans have been touting this. That hey, all of our games release at 60. All of your games don't release at 60. Nah, all that sort of stuff, right? So if every game's releasing at 60 and it has ray tracing, and all that stuff that they've been throwing at us for years, what's the point? I don't get it. The only thing I can think of is if PlayStation. This is the only thing I can think of is if PlayStation devalues their base games and say, oh, we can't quite get these games to 60 anymore. But if you want to play at 60s, got this Pro over here. I don't know. Donte, I'll kick it to you because we had a little bit of a quick chat on Twitter earlier in the week about the clarity, and it's not a huge difference, but obviously is there. But my thing about what was sort of happening on Twitter is let's be. I think you were like, hey, where's the difference? And I'm like, oh, here, and it's not huge. But my thing is with the Xbox guys, like let's not be what the PlayStation guys would be. Let's be genuine. Let's say, hey, the difference is there, but it's minimal. Let's be honest. It's the difference between 30 and 60. That's all it was. Yeah, I found it interesting. What are your thoughts on? Did it show well? Do you think they pitched it well?
No. I mean, sorry. So, for the price that they're going to charge for, you would expect that it would be. I don't know. I think when they did this before for the previous console, the Pro model was at least like close to 2 times more powerful than the existing one. And this one, they're touting on the graphics card, 45% more powerful or something like that, and about a 10% boost on the clock speed. It's like the same chip, but the clock speed has been kind of ramped up a little bit. So I'm asking the question as what's the purpose for it? The purpose to me is revenue, right? It's just basically let's get another product out there for people to purchase. And since we are the market leader, and since even with the fact that they've had a drought in the games, especially over the last year and a half, Xbox has done nothing to kind of eat into that market share. So you have the dominant position. So you can go ahead and do this, and people are going to like that percentage, whatever. If they're thinking 10 to 15% of the people who currently have the PlayStation, who for whatever reason want to say like, yeah, maybe I want to upgrade because I want the shiniest box and I like the power crown, then you're gonna get those people to go ahead and purchase, or someone who hasn't gotten into it yet. I would expect that there would be a game though. Like if you're gonna announce this, I would expect that you would have some games or something like that would kind of showcase its raw power, and I don't think that's the part that showed well. I don't think there was nothing that they put out that they can be like, hey, this is the reason why this machine is deserving of this particular price at coming in at $700 because look how great this looks. Maybe in certain games that are third-party games, since like you say, most of their games were doing 60. Maybe some third-party games, like right now, I think Space Marines 2 performs better on the Series X compared to like the PlayStation 5. Negligible for most people, but like someone who's really paying attention, or if you watch Digital Foundry, you would see that there's a performance difference, and that pops up here and there for certain third-party games. So if they want to make sure that they never lose that crown for this particular gen, maybe they hit that. Where I think it could potentially have an impact for them is if, let's say, next year within the gen, GTA does release, and it's performing that much more better on that compared to the Xbox platform. And if they can showcase off a big game like that, where it's like, oh, I want to get GTA and it's going to be a really demanding game and it's going to play that much better on the PlayStation 5 Pro compared to the Xbox Series X, maybe in that particular situation, they can basically make a case as to the people who say, well, why should I buy the PS5 Pro? You'll catch some people for something like that. But right now, it's odd timing on it to me. It's kind of like, here's the news, it's out there, but what's the compelling reason for someone to go out there and purchase if they already got the PS5? Like I don't see it unless you're just an enthusiast, right? And no knocking for anybody who's like that, because I've been the guy who's basically like, I bought the was the One X. I bought the One X for when the Xbox release did. So I'm usually someone who would probably be in the market for buying like the latest and greatest upgrade or something. But right now, the timing and the lack of a show-stopping game for me to see the complete difference just seems a little bit odd. So in that perspective, I don't think it showed the way maybe they wanted it to show. And I think a lot of people, based off what we're seeing from those who are like hyping it versus those who are like kind of saying, wait, what the hell is this in terms of the price and why should I upgrade to this? It seems like the majority of people they're not in Jeff's category where they're complete like, rah, 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 let's go PS5 Pro. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see some stuff when games start coming out for it. But right now it's just kind of like odd timing to not really have a stellar product to back it up, in my opinion.
And then to not show it. Sorry, Holly.
Oh, no. I was just going to say just on that one point, and I don't want to, break into his stream. Digital Foundry already came out this week, and Kay put it in the chat, but they already came out earlier this week and said, don't expect GTA 6 to run 60 frames on this box.
Yeah, well then it's that's like the one game that I would think third party that could be like, oh.
Well, remember Ryan McCaffrey, the instant GTA 6 was actually announced, he was like, I'm getting it wherever it's the best. Period.
Yeah, wherever it plays the best, yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's going to look a little bit better but not perform any better.
So here's the question for that, just in particular, that exact theory about GTA being, a seller for the system. If this box is out and GTA 6 is pushed to 2026 and Xbox comes out in the fall of 26, say 6 months later or something like that, do you think people would go ahead and buy the PS5 Pro because it's already out when the game releases? Or would they wait and get the next gen Xbox to take advantage of the 60 potential for a better playing system 6 months after launch?
I don't think sorry.
Go ahead, Bruce.
I was going to say, I don't think any of the hardcore PlayStation guys are going to get the PS5 Pro anyway, right? The casuals won't care. And
yeah, but there are people who say GTA is the defining thing, not the platform. You know what I mean? There are certain people who,
they say that, but I don't think anybody's going to rush to do that just to get a slightly better looking, like, shadows in a distance or something like. I don't really think that. And I don't want to say it like the PS5 Pro won't make it look a bit better. It will, but as to how much, we don't really know, and it's too much unknown. And from what they showed us already, it wasn't really impressive already. So I'm feeling like I doubt it's going to be something so crazy that they're like, I have to get this PS5 Pro for this. It's not going to have 60, so there's no real need for it outside of slight visual upgrade. I don't see that being a motivating factor.
That's an opportunity maybe though for Xbox, Holly. If let's say if this does push GTA 6, if it's 2026 for GTA 6, right, and that they're ready for their next gen hardware, if they got something that is powerful enough to then run it at 60, and then PlayStation doesn't, then that's an opportunity to try to move the needle at some point for people who want GTA on the best performing machine.
And don't you think right now they're thinking, is there any way to push up our launch at all to get closer to that date when it comes? Don't you think that they're thinking about that? Because I did hear a rumor maybe a month or so ago that they were saying that the Xbox console might get pushed into 27 instead of 26. But I would say GTA is probably one of those that would make you, push the other way if possible. If
you want to sell consoles, also don't right? If you want to sell consoles to more than just your base that's already installed, what better opportunity than to get the casual person who maybe doesn't have a new Xbox yet? So why not take advantage of that timing and try to get it out?
Yeah.
You want to make sure that console's fully baked too.
True.
So
right.
And
you don't do that for just one game. Right.
Yeah, even if it is GTA. But one of the things is that they don't have to worry about. I think Xbox is that they don't have a lack of launch games. So wherever they drop that Xbox, there will be a launch game for the Xbox, which is not what we saw for this gen.
It'll be Gears.
Again,
It'll be Gears. Yep.
I'm hoping that it is, but I guess that's sort of I was gonna sort of run through I'm normally not very structured when it comes to questions, but the other thing I was thinking is like this didn't do what I wanted. So what I wanted was, and I've been saying this for a while, what I wanted was a guarantee of 1440p at 60. That's it. That's all I want. If they can give me a guarantee of 1440p at 60, I'm happy. But we're still having these conversations of 4K upscaled, and I think that that's the detriment of the developers. And here's another thing, and we all thought that we had this discussion really. I think it was just after Gamescom when I got back to show after Gamescom in Australia, and we had this discussion about like most gamers don't play the performance mode. But now we see that most gamers actually do play the performance mode and do prefer the frames. So I think, guys, I'm not blaming developers for things, but I think this is a failing on developers' parts, that they're not focusing on that performance, that FPS over their fidelity. You know what I mean? Like, drop that fidelity back a bit. Don't make that your target. Make that 60 FPS your target. That's the container you want to get into, and whatever fits into that container, get it in there. Because I think, frankly, that's what we now know from the metrics, PlayStation's metrics. That's what everyone wants. So and also when he pitched this, just going back to like how he pitched it, he's like, our customers and our developers are telling us that we want higher fidelity and we want more graphics, and we're putting in a bigger GPU. I'm like,
if you say he, are we talking about Sony?
Yeah, Sony. Yeah, okay. Sony. So, but he also, in the same breath, was saying that most of our base chooses frames per second, and that's where your focus should have been. So they've put a bigger GPU in. Apparently, this equates to a 4070. We put a bigger GPU in, but they haven't beefed up. I mean, 10% is minimal. I'm not a massive tech guy, but 10% is minimal on your CPU. And most of the bottlenecks that we've seen with frames per second this generation have all been CPU limited. Every time, Digital Foundry looks at it, they're like, look at this CPU maxing out here. We don't know why, hasn't been optimized. And this seems like, and I said this seems like an 8th generation solution to a 9th generation problem. Like, the 8th generation probably could have done with a bigger GPU, and that would have been great for that generation. This generation probably needed a bit of a boost in both to get it to where it was. We don't know what the GPU is yet. We're not 110% sure. We've got the leak specs. We haven't got the official specs yet. But I don't know. I would have thought a slight beef on both to sort of to open up that bottleneck would have been the go. I mean, maybe PSSR will do that job and we'll get through to the frames, but we're still hearing that they're gonna have 30 FPS games. We're hearing that from a few sources that would know what they're talking about.
One of the big mixed steps for me in an announcement is that, so not only are you spending like the price tag is whatever. If something is premium and it actually performs well, then I think you price it relatively to what it can do. I don't know. It remains to be seen as to what this particular device is going to do compared to like what's currently out there, that it's worth, $700. But if you're doing that and you're not going to get like good backwards compat on everything, right? Because that's still not something that they're fully addressing. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm paying the higher price tag, and I'm not getting the benefit of something like I would get with the Xbox platform, where I get a bunch of backwards compat on games that I already have within my digital library, right? So to me, I thought that was a bit of a misstep. It looks like they're like, hey, we're not going to even address that. We're just forward thinking, and the old stuff is whatever. Deal with whatever we put out there that can be emulated and kick rocks. So whatever.
Yeah. And I think from memory, the I just remember, I don't remember the exact presentation, but I remember watching the PS4 Pro presentation, and I was like, ooh, not interested. I was very hardcore Xbox. I haven't even touched a PlayStation since the PlayStation 1 era at that point. But but I was still like, oh, that's underwhelming. And then when they did their Series X and they gave you all the details on what it could and couldn't do, and then that it could run some games at 60, that it ended up doing, I was super hyped. I don't know. I feel like PlayStation always has a miss when they're releasing their Pro and going through it. There's definitely a few more questions that I've got for you guys in the panel, but we sort of touched on one before, Holly, with that. With the pushing up the launch of the console of Xbox's console. So I think that would be if they're not releasing in 2026, they need to fit it into that window. I think that's the best thing to do. I think just ride the rest of this next 2 years out. You've got basically a full year, maybe year and a half of PlayStation just dog walking you when it comes to these comparisons. That's going to happen. Like, we know that's going to happen. There's going to be, an OK saying there's not going to be much of a movement between, Space Marines 2's got 20% more performance on the Series X, and you're not going to see much of a difference. I don't know. That depends on how they implement PSSR, or PISA. So to me, it's going to be, with the architecture they put in there, it's interesting to see. Plus their ray tracing tech, it's interesting to see how that's utilized with developers. And you have to wait to see. And this is one of those things that, like, they haven't convinced me, and I am a tech head, and I would normally rush out and get this thing, regardless if it's PlayStation, regardless Xbox, I would go and get it. But they haven't convinced me, and I want to see what it does with third-party games. So does Xbox need to respond to this at all, or should they stick to a deadline to get that next generation box out? Umbra, we haven't heard much from you. I want to get to you, but do you think that what Xbox has got planned, how they're moving, how they're rolling forward with this generation, rumored to be in 2026, possibly pushed back to 2027, should Xbox be holding off, or should they be all steam ahead and try to get this box out early?
Yeah, I think they should hold off. I don't think there's any rush to specifically get anything out, because as much as the killer app as a Pro may be for our Hoove brothers, I don't really think is going to push the market forward in any way outside of influencing next gen pricing wise. I think that's the biggest takeaway I have from this. So I think Microsoft is best to pay attention to what Sony is doing as far as specs. And well, it's probably way too late late in the tooth, I suppose they would say, right, to try to change up anything major as far as what they're doing for R&D for their new devices. But pricing wise, they can at least take that much from it and say, okay, do we want to launch next gen at that price at a 700? And I'm kind of thinking that's what next gen is.
We're talking about entry, like the
entry.
cost of the entry level console is going to be that's like resetting the.
If it's not 600, I'm thinking 700. And the reason why I believe that is, and shout out to Kay, highlight that one if you could, Risk. It's all the way up and it says, "Can we please address the fact?" It's right above William Riggs.
About it comparing to 4070.
Yeah, because that's the constant thing we keep hearing. Now, it's not quite a 4070. It's more equivalent to, I believe they said, the 6800 XT, right? So it's more equivalent to that, which is like, I think 10% less than a 4070, which sounds small, but in PC it's kind of dramatic. And it's also not a real comparison, because like Kay is pointing out, they're not talking about overall, because it's not anywhere near more performant than a 4070 would be ever, right? It's nowhere near that. And nowhere would Sony sell it that cheaply as a 4070 either. So it has a lot of the things in it. They're largely talking about the ray tracing and things like that, AI processing, the pisser and things like that, right? So that's what they're trying to get that from the RDNA 4. So it's still a worthy device, but I think people are being too dramatic to be like, oh, it's the 4070, and then just kind of leave it at that instead of kind of they add no nuance to that discussion. But I think as far as Xbox, I think the best thing they can take from this is to see how it works pricing wise and how it reflects for Sony. The thing is, though, as we've all come to see, what Sony seems to do and Microsoft seem to do doesn't seem to work the same way. Sony can sell through. They've been profitable with their PlayStation 5 hardware. Microsoft hasn't, unfortunately, yet. Right, so they've already profited, so they're going to profit now too, likely with the Pro. Matt Piscatella talked about 20% of sales in the fall likely being of the PS5 Pro. So, and I said this before on Boom's Xbox Factor. I said our Who brothers are definitely going to buy this device, and I made a tweet about it, joking and messing with them, saying that they had a they had something of a plan. I forgot how I used it, but and
Concept of a plan.
Concept of a plan, right? To pay the 700, and they were all on their defensive. I'm getting it, like they were adamant about that. Now I know that doesn't speak for everyone, but it's a large swath, I believe, of the hardcore that really are going to get it, if not for anything, than to have a more performative device that can outdo the Xbox. You know what I mean? As far as what Xbox plans, I think they would be best to stick to what they were going to do. I don't think this moves the timeline up for them in any way. And a large reason for that is because of what they showed us already. Nothing impressed us, and I think that was shared across the board, even with PlayStation guys, where they just showcased older games. And that's why nobody was impressed. If they would have showcased a newer game, hell, if they would have showcased Black Myth Wukong running at 60 frames per second, no issues and things like that, that could have probably better sold the idea of the Pro.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? So things like that, and this is my thing too. And it's largely, they're probably going to rely largely on third party, right? Well, what's the selling point for first party? Because they have no first party games that's going to launch anytime soon that's really going to take advantage of the PS5 Pro. Those, gas titles are not going to land. Most of them are going to be canceled. I'm not trying to be a downer, but Fair Games, I think that's pretty much done for. I think Marathon, we already know it's in development hell. That's done for. So what do they have to showcase anything? Sony might have to get desperate and try to work out something with Rockstar for GTA. I think that could happen, but they're not.
The rumor is they have.
Yeah, but they're not going to keep it exclusive. That's never going to happen. So what do they have? You know what I mean? And it's not going to look that dramatically better to say, well, I have to get it on PS5 Pro. You know what I mean? So I don't really see any need for Xbox to be like, oh man, we have to figure something out. I will say though that the way the news cycle works, Xbox having had bad news recently, of course, layoffs, of course, across Microsoft, things of that nature, games going across to PlayStation. They want to counter that in some way. And there was a question, by the way, Ginger had posed, I thought was really messy, but at the same time, if that happened, I wonder just how bad that would be for Xbox and Microsoft. I don't think it would be. This question was, what would happen if Microsoft puts another game, or what if one of the games they're sending over to PlayStation performs far better and they give a performance mode or whatever compatible for the PS5 Pro that we don't get on the Xbox?
What would Xbox
give
it? If there's like, hey, we only have a 60 FPS available for it.
Exactly, but we don't have it over here on the Series X.
So that's going to be on Microsoft if they do that.
Yeah,
and because there's been long rumors about PlayStation kind of having things to parity, where like maybe developers could have had a game running better on the Series X, but to keep it in parity with what PlayStation was doing, they didn't take advantage of the additional features, right? So that'll be stupid for Microsoft to be like, if we got a game that isn't quite ready for its performance mode, but we make sure it's ready for the PS5 Pro, but not the Series X, then that's just dumb on you for doing that, if that's the case.
Yep.
Well, I mean, Kay makes a very interesting point as well. He said, my question is, how much will it outdo the Series X? He said, after all, the Pro will now have AI features the X already had. If nothing else, this will benefit the X ultimately because now devs can use them. I don't know, Kay. I think that might be a little... Again, with this, especially if this generation has taught us nothing, it is to wait and see and definitely not make super bold. If D-Batch has taught us nothing and learnt nothing himself, but it's to make. Look, I love D-Batch. Love you, D. D's a fucking legend. But I'd be careful about making bold claims. I mean, but that's a really interesting question for me is, and Monad asked another question, does this hurt the devs? Does this hurt the X? Because they start developing for the PSSR and they're not using the Xbox tools. Instead, they start using the PlayStation tools that the Xbox doesn't have. Start using the AI machine learning in the PlayStation. Hey, Xbox has that tool. maybe we'll start implementing that for both games. So
The base will still be what the current PlayStation is, though, because that's the majority of the units. So they're always going to still use that as the common denominator of what they're going to basically, kind of develop for. The Pro isn't going to be like
games still come out
it's
on
going to be the
4.
focal point. Like, nah, you're going to probably, let's say you sell a few million copies of that one, or a few million units of the Pro. The 60 or whatever, if it's 50 to 60 million PlayStation 5s that are out there, that's the concern. That's the base of what they're going to develop for. So I don't think the Pro will have devs saying, hey, we're going to switch up how we're going to approach to do this. If anything, it just says we can tweak and play with some more stuff on this, but it's going to probably be similar to what we see for the Series X, where how many devs are actually taking advantage of these features? Because we see, it seems like only some of the in-house studios were for some of the Xbox games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, but also if we look at the Series S, and there's definitely an argument to be made that the PlayStation's got more in the market, but when developers develop for Xbox, I'm fairly certain, based on what we've seen, I don't know this for sure, but I'm fairly certain they're not developing for the Series S, which is the larger base in the Xbox player base in the 9th gen. And I think if we did see developers do that, if we did see developers develop for the S first, then we would get more performant games on Series X, and then if they port to PlayStation or when they go to PlayStation, or we would get them to run at 60. I find it crazy that we've got 30 FPS games running on the Series S, and then you take that to the Series X, and that just doesn't double the frame rate. Like, I'm not sure why that works. Not a tech guy. Why we're still getting 30 FPS games at this point. Going back to the AMD RX 6800 or 68,000, as opposed to being a 4070, I guess my sort of thoughts on that is that's a huge difference. I think that's around about is it an RTX 3070 or 3080? That sort of is the comparison.
Well, the standard PS5, is comparable to right now a 6700 series, right? That's about the most comparable one. So what they'll be having is with this PS5 Pro, they're saying at least the 6800 XT, I believe, is the closest.
It's the non XT. Kay's spammed it like 5 times. He's
okay.
non-XD, non.
Oh, I see it.
Nerds and Other Legends put it in there too. They were both like, no.
Okay. So it's standard 6800. So that definitely separates it even further from the 4070. See, the XT is closer to the 4070.
Roger. Okay. Well, I guess then that sort of takes me to the next topic, or the next question that I have, or the thing that I have that people are really not going to like. I always got to have something that people aren't going to like. So
you don't have to.
You
just do it.
You don't have to.
It's just a thing that if I think it, I've got to say it.
That's not how life works. That's really just not the way that life works.
I think it should.
Say it.
I would rather people know my mind. So, first
people
of all,
don't want to know your mind.
Damn.
So, first of all, I think everyone should chill on this price thing, because I think you guys are going to be, not you guys on the panel, but I think everyone out there is going to be really surprised when Xbox drops their next gen console. That console is going to be probably closer, if I think 700 is the lowest you can expect out of the next console from Xbox, and there's a few reasons as to why, and maybe a few reasons as to why PlayStation should try to keep themselves at about the 700 mark. But if the next Xbox does what we think it can do, and it has what we think it's going to have, then it's very likely that console is going to be very expensive. That said as well, I fully expected this price. So this price in Australia with the disc drive and everything else, this is $1,360 Australian. That's how much we're paying to get a full PS5 Pro, which is absolutely crazy. I'm willing to pay that for a machine that promises me every single game at 60 and delivers on every single game at 60. So, Monad's taken a victory lap. He's said this multiple times, so I'll put it up there. Yes, he was right about the price. So
I also called the price, by the way. Yes.
So
you're not special
I think
on that. I just want you to know that.
Anybody got a cookie to give this guy?
Yeah.
I think everyone should chill on the price. Like, yeah, it's expensive.
No.
Is it completely?
Because it's a mid-gen console.
Yeah, and it's a mid-gen pro release. You're telling me reset the market altogether for the entry-level console for going forward. Like if you're doing different. That, you're saying that's your DOA for every parent who's like, I'm getting my kid whatever the next PlayStation is. If that's going to be the entry-level pricing for like just getting your kids the next new shiny box that plays games. Now the enthusiasts like ourselves, we will pay premium for stuff like that. But the average parent and their kid coming to them saying the new PlayStation or Xbox just came out and it's great, it does all yada yada yada. How much is that thing? Oh, it's $700-800 as the entry level. You're not gone would be the days of where they sold 40 to 50 million consoles within 5 to 6 years, and then later $100 million adoption rate. You're not going to get parents to really buy close to $1,000 machines.
I think you took it the opposite way of the way I meant it. What I meant was it's a mid-gen refresh, and despite it being a pro, that I don't think a $300. I'm saying $300 because the $500 PS5 had a disk drive. So I'm adding in the disk drive price, and then actually with taxes, it's a little more than $300 difference, but still. A $300 difference on a mid-gen refresh is not, that ain't it. Like that's not, like I haven't talked much during this conversation, and really like this generation is just super weird, and I think it all derives out of COVID for a number of reasons on a number of fronts, right? Which I think we all understand. The economy is crazy nutso, right? And because of that, we had a false start on the gen. And then we've had all of these games delayed because of that. We've had tech shortages, right? Supply shortages, and that caused problems. And because prices keep skyrocketing across the markets, we've never had a decrease in price this whole time. What would have normally happened is that we would have seen the base consoles trend down, and this pro model would have come out at this maybe a little bit higher, like a $550, maybe a $600, right? Not $800. So like we're in a weird time for this gen. I feel like this gen of consoles is going to go down as like the worst one, just because it was so convoluted. There was never a clear cut ties and move forward with this gen as the only gen being developed for, right? Yeah. And that's caused problems too. Like, why are you starting to sell me a Pro when you're still making games for the PS4 or the Xbox One? Right? Like you, and that's my biggest complaint. I mean, yes, you talked about the fact that like, they didn't show Black Myth Wukong. Yes. But the problem is they didn't even show, they don't really have any games that are this generation only, except like Ratchet and Clank, which came out 2 years ago. Right. And maybe, a scant one or two in between there, but like they didn't have enough PS5 only games to show like, here's where you're going, right? Like we already developed it to this level and now we need to go up. And then you're showing me games that are 4 or 5 years old. You're showing me Last of Us 2, which was a PS4 game. Like you're showing me games that you've already remastered this gen, and then you're showing me up-resing of a remaster. Like it just doesn't make sense. But why that's happening is because of all the development issues. So the best thing Xbox can do, and what they should be doing, is just silent as a church mouse, watching everything happen, doing their own thing. And I really do think that they don't view Sony as a competitor in the same way that all of these podcasts and, a lot of us try to talk about it like that. But I don't really think they look at it like that. But I can guarantee you that this Pro is the litmus test for what they can do with the release on the next box. But I think Riskit's not wrong in the fact that I think that the next gen, like boom, start of a new gen, the last one, this one, right? Kind of a stinker. So, we've all caught up through COVID. We've had all these years to kind of play catch up. Developers are now on a path. And this is it. This is our new machine. Especially if it has the Steam interface and all of the other stuff that we're always talking about. We wish that the next thing will have, right? Because, and I also will say, I think that I personally think that the next gen, if there is this ability to have this Steam Xbox interface, that Xbox will make consoles, but I would not be surprised if they also open it up to third party, which will help bring the price down as well, right?
So that just goes to my point I was mentioning earlier that right now, and I know he's of the same belief, that the sticker price of this $700 PS5 Pro seems at first kind of scary to those on a console and have only really been on console for most of their gaming life. It's like, whoa, 700. It gives that PS3 feeling, right? Like, work 2 jobs to afford this. Now you got to work 3. But once you get past that initial shock, you realize the tech inside of it is worthy of that price. And as he pointed out in the chat, a lot of these pieces and devices that they're using for tech inside of these things, they haven't come down lately. And Sony is past the point of subsidization. I'm saying that word terribly.
Yes,
right
you
now.
got it. You got it.
Subsidization.
But yeah, they're done with subsidies. I think
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hear you.
I think Microsoft might still be in a bit of a conundrum for that, and they might have to price it down a bit just to compete properly. But maybe, I'm not sure. I think Microsoft still wants to
done subsidizing.
You think so too?
I think they're done because if they're saying they're not going to chase the selling console units, like if that's what this is, right? If it's no longer about we're chasing how many units sold as kind of like the metric, then if you're going to put out another console, and especially if it's really performative, you're going to put that thing out as close to cost as possible or to make a profit on it. And understand that you're probably not going to sell. You're never going to sell as much as PlayStation's going to, but at least you're not going to get your ass kicked on subsidizing the unit
or being outperformed. Maybe that's the case too, right? And then to not be outperformed, you're going to have to charge a bit more for the tech you're putting in it. So I can see your reasoning on that. I feel though like that since they're behind as far as market share and things like that, they may suffer that a bit. That's what I'm thinking.
But Umbra, they're not trying to be the console selling leader anymore. They don't care about that.
No, it's not even a matter of leader. This is a matter of just competing. I don't think they don't want to compete at all. I think people have the wrong idea.
Yes, but that's why they would open it up to third party. Who says that Lenovo can't make an Xbox?
Yeah, but they're never going to have them make an Xbox itself. They'll have an interface. They'll have the Steam OS in the sense of for the Xbox, on their device, for instance, right? They won't have the Xbox itself.
I don't think we're at the point. I don't think next gen's the point at which they start opening up consoles to third party. I think you follow that gen after the next gen, and then we're looking at that.
Yeah,
but I agree. And Kay said that Phil came out and himself and said that they can no longer do subsidized hardware in a world where other app stores can live alongside their own ecosystem. Like I think the next Xbox that comes is going to be a premium price. It's going to be a premium console. You're going to be looking at a 4070 type, Xbox. The next gen's got to be 4070. A minimum 3080, but we're looking at the pros about a 3080. So, or 3070. So the next one's going to be around about that 4070. By then, we've got a 4050. And I think you're looking at a premium that's still a good deal. And again, I think that, and I've seen a lot of people doing builds for PCs with, like that they can match this Pro for the price. I just don't think you can. Like, they're not developing for that PC that you built. Third parties and PlayStation develop for the Pro that they have with the architecture they have, and they'll probably use all the tools in the PlayStation, because we know that they develop for the PlayStation first. We know that that's a thing. So I don't think you're going to get, if you do a medium PC build try to hit that price point, I don't think you're going to get the same experience out of it. That's 110%. Like, I just think that's a fact. So these people going out there doing builds for PCs and then saying I could build this for the same price, I don't think you can. And I don't think the next generation will be the same. I think you'll get a really good deal at a premium price, closer to a 4070. And I think I'll get what I want in the next gen, which is why I haven't gone PC. I may be the last Xbox bastion that has not gone PC. But that's the reason, because I think I'll get next generation what I want. And so I think people should be a little careful about how we talk about price now, because I think everyone's going to be really shocked when this next generation drops. You're going to be like, God damn. Like, we're probably looking at in Australia, I think it'll be around about the 1,800 mark, if not $2,000 for a console. And I think that'll still be a good price.
Well, when I first started the conversation in the beginning, I did mention that the initial price for the Pro, I think, sets the standard for next gen. Now, I still don't know how that works out for Microsoft. I'm not sure how they'll approach it. To me, they've always seemed like they want to try to go to that more consumer-friendly angle. So I have an inkling that they might try to go for slightly less to be more appealing. And they do want to try to bring more people to get into the ecosystem. Now, when you say, for instance, Riskit, you're the last console holdout for Xbox or whatever. Well, Xbox, they've already stated, is everywhere you want to be, right? If you got it on PC, you got Xbox, right? So you might as well get over that hump, brother, and just get yourself a nice, capable PC build and, join me over here. I'm just throwing it out there. So he's like, nope.
So I hear everybody in terms of the where technology is and how much is baked into small devices now. I get it. The technology is in there that it warrants some of the prices that we're seeing. So I'm not blind to that. I think it makes more sense for Xbox to say, hey, we're not going to subsidize. We're going to basically put out a premium console more so than PlayStation, because if they're not chasing units, then why not get, basically make your money and just understand that you're going to basically be like more, I'll say niche, but compared to PlayStation, you'll be put out like a premium product, but you're not trying to sell 50, 60, 70 million units. I don't know how PlayStation says whatever art, because they're not, I don't think, as well positioned as Microsoft is to be able to have games between both PC or console or some type of handheld, right? They're putting their games out, like, for the most part, their allure is, if you're a console user, you're the preference, right? You're who we got our focus on. And if you're on PC, you'll get some of our games maybe a year after. But the console is still like front and center for them. Xbox, I believe, can basically have this flexibility between PC, if you play on console, or some type of mobile device, etc. So how does PlayStation say the next entry level, the PS6, is starting at $700? Going like that's going to be the standard price across the globe, and expect all the same parents who are purchasing units for their kids to all be able to, because people are already buying like $1,000 smartphones for their kids, but that right, plus the console, you get to some point where for everybody, like, that's not really feasible. Where at first you can get like this, $300 to $500 unit, and now you're looking at $700 to $800. I don't know how they can look at that when that's their bread and butter, which is selling the units. And Xbox is more flexible as to, play where you want to play. PlayStation is more, we want you on the console. And if we can't get you on the console, hopefully we get some of the PC guys a year after the fact.
Yeah,
that's where I'm lost at on the price hike or resetting the market.
Yeah, it's a very difficult, this is why I say be careful on what you're posting on Twitter on the price, because you may have to eat crow. pretty damn soon in the next couple of years. Or delete all of your tweets, you know. Just I don't do that, but I know some people that do. But it's been a very weird console generation, right? Strange, because if you look at the Pro and the X for the last gen, you know, the price of the base consoles, they dropped, you know, when there was that announcement, or even before that, they were, you know, doing deals. And Xbox is still doing deals. I don't think PlayStation is at the minute. I know they're doing deals on their PSVR 2. That thing's dropped substantially. It was $800 in Australia. Now it's down to $380. And I'm considering, that's a huge drop. I'm considering getting one now. I don't know what I'll play in it because there's no games, but maybe I'll just put it in the box and stare at it like Holly does. Anyway, but this generation we've seen,
See, you don't use that the way you said you were going to use that.
That's true. You're right. You're right. That's true. It's abuse, not use. I apologize.
No.
It's a very
comment.
It's a very interesting. It's a very interesting generation because we saw that in the last generation. You know, they sold at subsidization. They dropped the price of the base models, and they brought the pros in at the cost of the initial cost of the base models. And that was just standard how you did it. You know, you released the console, you dropped it in price. This generation, we've seen them up the price of both the consoles due to inflation and silicon, etc. And there is an effect on silicon.
Even the controllers.
There is an effect on silicon, which I'll give to you know, producers of cars, laptops. You know, everything at the moment is just buying up silicon to put AI in it. That requires a lot of silicon. So there is a premium price for silicon at the moment, and we didn't see that in the last generation. So that has an effect as well. So in some ways I get it, but the next generation and the price of the Pro is for me, because of all those things, sort of understandable. But if you're trying to sell me a premium product at a premium price, I want it to do premium things. That means that I don't want it to just do what the last one can do, because the last one can do exactly what this Pro can do. What's up? Exactly what the Pro can do, right? It runs games at 60 with ray tracing and at a decent fidelity. And they're saying upscaling to 4K. Well, I mean, you know, Spider-Man, and correct me if I'm wrong, Spider-Man 2 and 1, you know, those games were at 60 with ray tracing, and they upscaled to 4K, or they attempted to upscale to 4K. I think they were hitting 40p. So why do I need a Pro? This is my point. Like, how far are you going to push this fidelity? I'm playing Space Marine 2 on the Xbox. Everyone's talking about how beautiful it is on PC, but I'm playing it on performance mode because, damn, the 30 on that game is noticeable. It's like a flicker book. It's like, I actually, for the first game ever, I got a little bit nauseous when I was just looking at the turn of the camera. So I'm playing that at 60. It's running at 1080p, and it looks amazing. Like, it looks really good. Donte, I think you're muted. Damn.
I am muted, man.
Oh, there you
Damn.
go.
Now I was saying, I was agreeing with you. I was like, to me, the performance mode looks better. Like, it looks cleaner for some reason. Like the image looks crisper, right? So I tried it on the quality mode, and then I switched it to performance. And I play. I mean, if it's going to be a shooter, most of the games are going to play at 60 anyway. So performance, I'm going to pick it. But to me, I think it's definitely the preferred like mode on the Series X.
Yeah. And it still looks amazing. And I agree that's what I was pointing out with those stills, is like, everyone's like, oh, I can't see the difference. I'm like, well, you can see in the movement sections of the movement where there's splatter and there's a few other things that are actually moving in that still image. There's clarity in the 60. Now that's at 4K and it's ultra compressed on Twitter. So I get all that. And it's ultra compressed the way they put it through YouTube. It was terrible, actually. And you couldn't see shit because of the way that they pumped that out. So I've seen, Dealer used to stream shit better than that was, but it's crazy that a PlayStation
4K option like Xbox tends.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's weird.
It didn't help sell.
It was hard to see.
I'll say that. Yeah.
But when you're running at higher frames, you get crisper detail and clarity. So the 1080 actually looks better than the 4K because it's just blurring out hard. So for me, I I would normally rush out and get the new tech. I would normally day one it. I would. But this one, I'm a wait and see, man. Like, and I'll pay the price if I think it's worth it. But I don't know if this is going to be worth it. Like,
if this was Xbox with the Pro right now?
What would be your reason
I trust
to
them
purchase
implicitly.
Damn, I see it. I got you. Bot. No. What would be your reason for purchasing it right now? I'm asking a legitimate question in terms of like if most of their first party games already perform at 60, right? Is it just it looks prettier? Is that the selling point?
I don't see the selling point, right? I don't see it.
I'm speaking for some like from people who already have a PS5 and you're saying I'm going to go upgrade. Are you doing it because like before from the old Xbox One to the One X, it was the idea that you were going to get some games at 60 FPS, right? That was kind of its selling point. It was had the more powerful CPU, you would get some games at 60 FPS.
True.
This one, most of your first party games at least are already 60 FPS for PlayStation. So if I'm a current PS5 owner, am I just upgrading because I'm getting prettier versions of the game? Is that the selling point?
I mean, there's a good sort of point there as well. We've seen a lot of people go from Xbox to PC this generation, and they didn't, for the most part, everyone that I've seen go from Xbox to PC has been purely on frames. And then when they get there, like, oh, this is beautiful. So I always thought there would be a pro, and the reasons why I thought there would be a pro was because they did it last generation. It made dollars, and so it made sense. And that was the only reason, much like you said, Donte, at the beginning of the show, like it's revenue, and people will buy it. There will be people who buy that. So I think that 110%, that's why they were going to do the pro. I think that's why they've done the pro, but I don't see the step for it. Like every time someone pushed back on that and said, I just don't see the reason for it, I couldn't argue with that because I don't see the reason. Now, if the next gen is 900 US, it does everything at 4K 60, or it does it at 120 1440p, and that's the price point. And we've got Steam side loaded, we've got itch side loaded, we've got Epic Store side loaded, whatever it is. When I see that, I'm like, all right, this is giving me 4K guaranteed, at 60 guaranteed, and I've got access to every game that exists in any market, including PlayStation. We'll see if they do some dodgy back end stuff with that. Pause.
But see, the problem though, Risk, is that they can't guarantee you any of that though. That's part of the problem.
Developers,
so I don't know.
then it is the box, right? Like they're not optimizing now, right?
Right.
That's another part of this problem in this gen is the fact that we're getting a lot of these games 95% baked, right?
Yeah.
Like we're getting a lot of stuff, at a patch that's a month to 6 months later, even a year later sometimes, right? So it's not, and I don't know a lot about this, right? But a lot of times it's not really the hardware that's the issue. It's that they're rushing to get the game out because they haven't done the right stuff on the software side. So that's not, there's nothing that the console makers can do about that. For the most part, right? They can try to help them or try to give them some extra hands, but that doesn't mean that it's going to stop them from releasing games as soon as they can anyway.
Well, it's true. And that's why you can't give the guarantee. And I would say you can't give that guarantee, Umbra, you're right. But the reason you can't give that guarantee is because you don't even get that guarantee on PC. It's not anything to do with the box. So if the box has the power in it to do what we need it to do with no ball and chain, like a Series S, for instance, attached to it, that's going to hold it back the whole generation. I'm kidding. Like everyone calm down the chat.
There's one other thing that happened too, and don't get snarky at me, but I was watching an Asmongold video, and he was watching the PS5 presentation and making comments on it. there is a video that he did this week, and it was it was absolutely fantastic. It was long. It was like 50 minutes long, and he made some really, really good points about where PlayStation is currently, the issues that they're having with things. And I sent it to you, Riskit, and I put exact timestamps in it, so you didn't have to watch the whole thing. I said, "Hear me out," and I put the video in the link, and I said, "Check these 3 times." He talks about why Concord failed. He talks about he said, "If I didn't have a PC, what would I buy? Xbox is the best value in gaming. I just think that's what I would buy." You know, he just talks about all of that from a purely PC master race, you know, like perspective on, if I didn't have this, what would I do, and what's the best value. He also talks about but the point is that he was watching that, and there was a thing that flashed across the screen from the Sony presentation that showed them getting up to 120 FPS on games, and he immediately went, "Oh, well, they're going to give me 120 FPS on all their games. That's amazing."
What?
Yeah. So, and you know, later on, I think he, you know, found something later that said, but like, he was working off the initial premise of just seeing this graphic and it having this line that had it up to 120, and went, you know, because he's watching it on the fly. He wasn't watching, you know, like other people talk about it and stuff like that. But there was a graphic somewhere on there. So I'm not saying most people do that, but there was something in there that said you could get up to 120 FPS consistently.
I mean, you can do that on certain Xbox games for you know,
sure,
PvP.
you can play COD on 120
You got 120 hertz.
Halo Infinite.
Right. Halo
but I'm
Infinite
just
does
saying,
that,
right, that there's a lot of marketing tools that are used in these things that are subtle. And just like the 8K on the box, right? There's a lot of those things that are put in there, and doesn't mean you're going to get any of it. But in pure technicality, it could do that, you know?
Well, you would assume it could do it more consistently and more often. But I mean, that's just not the case that we've seen. We've seen that 2 teraflops really doesn't matter. We've seen that the CPU is the bottleneck, not the GPU, which was the previous generation's issue. You know, we've seen lots of things this generation that we didn't think were things. I mean, so often if you talk about RDX, a lot of the RDNA stuff that they were talking about earlier in the generation that was going to be amazing hasn't even been utilized. Mesh shaders hasn't even really been utilized. But they're not utilizing a lot of things. So
there's one thing that I've heard. I've heard 2 conflicting opinions, and I don't know enough, so I'm not speculating on what is true and isn't true. But I have very specifically heard people say that there's only a very small handful of games that have come out this gen that are CPU bottlenecked. That's not usually the problem. But I don't know. So I'm asking Kay or anybody else who might know, which is actually true. Like, is the GPU more traditionally the bottleneck with the CPU in rare occasions, or is it the opposite? Because I keep hearing both.
I think it's the CPU typically, but I have seen that too, the same thing that you saw. And actually, Kay, now that you mentioned that, Kay, answer that for her too. We got Lucius. Lucius can answer it also as well. And I'd ask this too. Why then would they stick with the standard, well, technically the standard CPU from the base PS5?
Just turn the frequency up.
Yeah, with a high frequency mode that allows for like 10% more. You think it's just pricing maybe? That does make sense.
Yeah, but in computers, though, the CPU is the far cheaper component.
True.
I'm just saying it's price. I mean, like the keep the price down, and you're tweaking it, right? You're ramping the frequency up, and just making sure that the thing doesn't cause anything to overheat or crash. But you're just tweaking the frequency, and you're not. It's not like we went out there and then we were purchasing this many more chips that are that much better than what we currently have because we're waiting for next gen for that, right? So to me, I think that's just price.
So with the GPU and CPU thing, and again, I'm not a tech guy, but the way I understand it from the years of gaming is, and you heard D say, look, console guys don't really know what they're talking about. I'll freely admit that, but from what I've seen, from what I've seen, last gen was like a real GPU issue. They had a GPU bottleneck, like they struggled to hit the resolutions they were going after. I don't think we've seen that as often. I think they've been able to utilize the GPUs that they have, and I think the worst, most unoptimized games this gen that we've seen, like the most egregious issues, have come from the CPU. So I think, you know, with games like Gotham Knights, you know, games like what's that horrible trash game set in the Cyberpunk?
Highlight
games like
post there about the CPU.
Yeah,
So-
that answers that
and so-
question for me.
The CPU is where all of the AI processing and all of that stuff happens, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, is there AI components to a GPU's processing?
Yes, there is, but the CPU more typically handles all your physics-based, you know, throughput stuff for
True.
the console, whereas the
Running the
GPU will handle,
the memory, all that type of stuff, and all of that too. It's the
and you
it's
can
the-
handle. You can balance. You can actually lean on the GPU to actually take over some of the CPU functions depending on the architecture.
Well, it should be.
So this
It
is why
weighs
it's
like
so
8
tough to-
pounds. Freaking thing's huge.
The CPU can help, I believe, with some of the frames per second, though, I believe as well.
Yeah,
And-
it does handle frames because it's your throughput. So
Yeah.
this could be completely wrong, and Kay will probably tell me to shut up because I don't know what I'm talking about. But from what I understand is that the CPU handles all your physics-based stuff and how it throughputs to the GPU. So like the speed of how you're getting your information is mostly handled by your CPU, which will give you frames, which will how quickly you can get that information out to the throughout the architecture.
I think that's
tell
pretty
me
much
if I'm
it.
wrong.
Yeah, you're pretty much
Lucius, so
correct.
tell
'Cause I
me
know
if
it
I'm wrong.
handles memory and everything. Definitely handles physics, and of course, just the general system of the console. So I think you're right, largely.
Your background operations and stuff.
Yeah.
But so and again, like as Kay said, I'm not wrong. Holy shit! But as Kay said earlier, like if you up the CPU, you've changed the console to the point where you've probably cut your base out. Like you wouldn't be able to just develop for the PS5 and you'd be able to develop for the PS5 and then the PS5 Pro. But you say, for instance, if you developed a game and it had it was more CPU usage because the physics were crazier, there was maybe more on screen, et cetera, that the CPU had to deal with, then you would just completely cut out your PS5 base.
Non-Pro would not be able to run it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
Or like
it's
when you
almost
have like a
pointless for them.
horde mode thing, like how they do that with fidelity versus performance, right? Or something like that, right? Where it doesn't populate as much of the
Stuff on
background,
the background.
right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anything that's
Sorry, I'm
physics
learning.
based as well. So
Yes.
if Space Marines, like, you know, it's graphically they're putting all those things on the screen, but also you need the CPU to handle all the physics for each of those things. So if you shoot one and it falls over and how it lands and all that sort of stuff, and then do that like consistently at speed so you get the frames. So if you could probably scale down. I think if what they did was boost the CPU by say 20 to 30%, you probably would be. You just develop for the PS5 base, and then you wouldn't have that CPU limitation, and then you would definitely get 60 frames for every game. But you'd still be developing for a PS5 base, and then you're not really advancing anything. So at that point, I think you need to move to the next generation. This is
So
just me
basically,
ad-libbing off the top of my head.
Like we mentioned, this is a cash grab. It's a cash grab, right?
Mhm.
It's
I
cash
think it's
grab.
revenue,
It's
yeah.
using, it's like it's cash grab. You're going to get higher fidelity, which is cool. People like the idea of seeing their games look very, very pretty on their 4K TVs. I'm that person. I don't have the TV I have for nothing. But for the most part, this is a revenue maker. This is about, we need to bring in some additional dollars, especially
but I
considering they haven't had really any killer games. They've had a little bit of a drought the last year and a half, right? So how do you got to get those numbers up outside of just we're the dominant person, the dominant market maker? We still got to bring in revenue. This is a cash grab.
Well, and again, so yeah, this is definitely for revenue.
I'm not sure. Yeah,
But
I mean,
it
yes.
is, but that's not a
think
bad.
it's a
I don't think
test.
that's a
test for
technically
the
bad
future.
thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I'm not knocking it. If anyone who purchase it, hey, you spend your money the way you want, right? I'm just
Exactly,
talking
yeah.
about for someone who is saying, I currently own a PS5. Why should I buy a PS5 Pro?
It's pardon 661. I'm still of the opinion
Yeah,
that
you
Sony
need to-
sucks the wrong way.
Detective Seeds. Oh yeah, you saw that. Okay, good.
Shout out to Detective Seeds.
Yeah.
What you doing here, Detective Seeds? You came to spy on us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's hiding in the chat there.
I'm just messing. What's up, brother?
But look, we're an Xbox focused podcast, but we're all very what you would call genuine and have integrity about what we say. So for me, this is great for people who want to buy it. I don't think it's egregious that it is a revenue raiser. I don't think it raises the bar. I don't think it pushes anything forward. But look, it's there for people who want it. But for me, who would typically go and buy a Pro or typically go and buy an X the next X series, I don't think if we've got to boost the CPU to a specific point to make this sort of stuff run, we may as well just move to the next gen. Have a beefier GPU, have a beefier CPU, call it a new gen, and let's start from the beginning again. I don't know.
That's interesting. Now that you say all that, Kay, what would you say would the CPU they will try to target next gen? I'm wondering about that now. Because like you mentioned earlier, Risk, I think they might try to go for the 4070-esque, maybe the TI or something like that range for the next gen. That makes some sense since we'll be going into the 5090 series maybe later this year. And it seems like we're kind of catching up to PC in some ways now that I'm hearing these numbers and 40 series popping up. Well, it's not quite 40 series, but you know what I mean. But I'm just wondering, what would that be? What is that going to look like? Yeah.
Man, I told you. I was just wait for the next gen. I think we're going to be getting real close to where PC is at, and I think we're going to be paying a premium, but nowhere near what it costs to build a PC. Alvin said the 4070 will be insufficient by then, but I don't think it will when it comes to a console. Like if you say 4070, 4080 Super, like you get to those sort of numbers with the next gen. If they do that, and the console's at $2,000. And then I'm looking at a 4070.
For you, Riskit, it will be near what it'll cost to build a nice PC. If it's if it's $2,000.
To build a say a 4090, with all the fruit, you're looking at around about $8,000.
I get that. I'm saying, but that's 2,000 versus like in the US, I can get a pretty nice machine here for about 2,500 to under 3,000. I can get a pretty powerful PC machine, right? If you're spending $2,000 for a console, close to it, what would a PC build cost you? And I'll show you for something that's a little bit better.
You're probably looking at at least another 1,000, if not 2. So anywhere from
Okay.
So I think for the Xbox, I haven't really worked it out, but for the Series X, it's at the moment it's around about to build a Series X capable PC would probably be at around about 2K, 3K. You could build one for. So
that's literally that's a 15. Like generally, you're somewhere from like a really high end PC, and versus buying a console. Low level is about 1,500, and if you're going for something really high end, 2,000 in savings by forgetting the console, right? And you're understanding that trade off that you're not getting the most powerful machine. But if it gets to the point where the console is within $1,000 of a really nice PC, you start losing that cost versus, you know what I'm saying? That the only thing to me that then makes up for that is the plug and play aspect of the console, where I don't have to worry about a lot of optimizing and tweaking for certain games and graphics cards and stuff of that nature. But outside of that, from a price perspective, there's not a lot of separation if we get consoles that are within $1,000 of a high-end PC.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I think the other thing that you're not thinking about is the fact that I do think these consoles are going to be $700-800 next gen. But the other thing that they're doing, right, is that we know that Xbox is working on a handheld. I saw a post this week that there's a PS Vita 2 on its way. which is supposed to be more powerful than a PS4. So and really that all follows the trend of what we're seeing in gaming on the whole is like, you know, the 30-year-old plus still wants a console, but all of the kids don't want a console, not like a, you know, not like a fixed place console, right? They want handhelds, they want portable. They don't care if they bring it home and plug it into their TV. It doesn't matter to them, right? So that's kind of where like we see the market is really kind of splitting into two, right? And there'll always be a console because those kids will grow up and they won't want to carry around, you know, they won't want to be a 35-year-old walking around with their Switch, right? Like showing this because they'll be too busy, you know, and then they'll want something that's a little bit nicer that has picture, you know, all the frames that you could want in the world plus 12. So like then they'll be in the console market, right? But the console market's going to be expensive, and that's okay because it's going to be for the people who are affording it as adults. And then they're going to have handhelds for all of the younger generation and for the people to buy for their little rugrats.
So you're just reinforcing why these little kids are messing up my hobby because they don't care. They're like,
I saw what you put in the chat. I saw what you put in the
kids
chat.
out of here, man. Get your
Darth
kids out of here.
Donte.
I blame the parents for not getting your kids right, for telling your kids they can get by in life with just a Switch or something like that. Blame you.
I mean, teach your kids. This is the thing that some Skill Up said on one of his videos. Rugrats is coming out. That you mentioned Rugrats, Holly. Rugrats the game is coming out, and he's like, I don't know why anyone's going to buy that because anyone who knows who Rugrats is probably going to be in their 40s, right, or older. So that's not for the kids and it's not for the 40-year-olds. So who the hell's playing that game? And my point is, teach your kids the classics, sit them in front of their consoles, like get them into it. Like don't give them their Switches. Be like, no, you only play in the house. You get them while they're young, right?
Yeah.
You got to do that. Stop giving them the Switches and taking them on road trips with a Switch. Make them look outside.
Get them off
Sing
some
bingo.
iPad games and casual mobile games. Get them off that crap.
And get off my lawn.
Get them off. Exactly. I'm the old man. Yeah, get that trash out my face, man. What you want, man? Get that shit out my face, man.
You know, Kay mentioned something that's puzzling to me too, and this is why this whole the whole thing. Oh, it's 47 equivalent. All of that stuff is just kind of odd to really just jump to and agree with. And it's because, for instance, they're talking about the Zen 4 tools he's talking about with the Pro, and it's going to have the RDNA 4. RDNA 4, if I'm not mistaken, doesn't even exist yet on the PC. So how does that work?
It doesn't. No.
Yeah. So how with that? I'm just trying to figure out how that all plays out. And then we talk about the pisser, as everybody calls it, the PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution to DLSS. So I'm just wondering how all of that plays out because there's no guarantee that the PSSR is going to work. It almost sounds like we're talking about Russia when I say that PSSR, but I wonder how that plays out to everything as far as how it's going to compare to DLSS because DLSS, from my understanding, is pretty much the standard, and I've used it to great effect. Like for instance with Black Myth Wukong. So I just wonder how that plays out for the Pro.
Well, that's the Lotus Esprit says, what? Rugrats the game? Sign me up. But that's why I'm waiting because it'll have RDNA 4, but the Series X had RDNA 2 before 2 was available.
Right, true.
I think, and that ended up, you know, so that's being obviously built in and they work with AMD before it comes out and it comes out of the Pro. You know, but there's these outliers, you know, like spectral resolution. There's the RDNA 4. There's, you know, they're not going to be using FSR to AI upscale. So what's that going to be like? Is that built into the machine with hardware, or is that a software solution?
Is PSSR like just PlayStation's version of like AutoSR?
No, it's like it's like DLSS.
Yeah, it's like NVIDIA's DLSS essentially.
Okay.
It's for like upscaling games, for instance, like quality visuals and stuff like that. Give you better, sharper visuals and less like what's the name of that?
They better show some better comparisons to show how that's supposed to make it look better. Because
true.
That was missing from that little showcase.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a hardware solution. I thought I heard it was a hardware solution, and it is like DLSS. But the thing is with that, also I've heard this from Xbox guys, but it's not true 4K. Shut the fuck up with that shit. If you can like, if you can like pick out like the difference between 4K and a DLSS upscale of 4K, then yeah, I tip my hat to you. You must have like
good, and especially if it's
2050 vision.
Less, you know, if it's taking less resources to basically give you a really pretty image, that's the end game, right? So I don't care if it's true 4K versus it looks pretty damn close and it's not making my machine bog down.
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree. I remember somebody, I forgot, I think it was on my show. They were like, I can see 120 frames, no problem. I'm like, I don't think you can see 120 frames. I don't believe you. Mm-hmm. But hey, I mean, there are rare people, they said, that can see 120. So maybe you might be that rare one. I don't know. But it's the same thing with the upscale of 4K. You're right. Nobody's really going to tell. You're not going to care enough. I need the pure 4K or else. I don't think anyone really cares about that. No,
but I have seen some people saying it, and I just want to be like, "Shut up, man! That's so stupid." I mean, if you're talking FSR, and there's a lot of aliasing with FSR, you get like a lot of shimmer and shit in the background, and it hasn't been a great solution because it is just a software solution. It's not driven by the hardware, which is why I understand that DLSS is a much better solution. And if PSA is the hardware solution and it runs like DLSS, then I think that's great. But it's going to be interesting to see how that's implemented. If the devs can make it work, if they use it to full effect. When will they use it to full effect? Will it be 2 to 3 years, and then we've got a new generation from Xbox? Like, there's a lot of gray area in this mid-gen refresh for PlayStation, and I think it's capped off by the fact that there's nothing big on PlayStation coming that's pro enhanced that I'm looking what's coming? Like, what is there to play?
But
like I don't.
Just for the record, though, they say that the PSR is supposed to work across all. I know it's supposed to work across all the standard PlayStation games automatically. So, like at launch, it's supposed to automatically do it. And then I think later, Holly, you might care for this because maybe you can unbox your PSVR. They're allegedly going to have it available for the look. You saw that closing roll of our eyes.
It'll give her the ability to actually use it more than the 5 times she's probably used it in this life.
You're right. She probably just looked at it and put it back. Oh, I got it.
Show us the box. Show us the. Oh, damn. Damn.
Where'd you go?
That's something I said.
It has never come out of the box.
Damn.
I had a feeling.
That's crazy.
Not yet. It will. It will.
Crazy. How much? Hey, how much you pay for that?
None, yeah.
That's crazy.
It'll come out of the box when she's giving it back to GameStop to trade it in for the PS5
There hasn't
Pro.
been any games that I was like, yes, take my money. I really feel like
you bought
this
the hardware. You're like,
yeah, why would you buy
because
it?
they promised that there were going to be games.
They're like, got her.
Right?
Got her.
And we learned
just like the Xbox.
This lesson.
Got her.
Hey, but that's a good point. This whole generation, we've learned from both consoles, all three. Well, Switch is delivered, but we've learned from both of these new gen 9th consoles that, hey, let's just wait. Now, I've seen this a lot on Twitter, and I agree. Like, I was day one everything. I wasn't day one with the Series X because I won that thing for free. So beautiful, right? I had to wait till I got it. But I've been day one every Xbox, and I think this next generation, and with this PS5 Pro, I'm not day one anymore because you told me a whole bunch of stuff. Like Post Up said, man, they sold us the PlayStation on 8K, 120 FPS at 4K. And now they're selling us the Pro on 8K, 120 FPS at 4K. Not even 120 FPS is selling us at 60 FPS. 60, some games will still be 30.
Yeah, 60,
the box is going to say, but seriously this time.
This time. For real. for real this time. You know what these execs are? Before. These execs
guaranteed
are like
will buy your vertical stand back.
You're right. Vertical stand. These execs are the meme from Scarface where the dudes are on the phone laughing and stuff like, look at, yeah, we got these suckers and stuff. They'll keep coming back and getting and paying for it. So that's us because we coming back and we keep paying for it. Ain't that right, Holly?
For the payers. I just don't like. The only thing I don't
You
like.
know I'm voluntarily here, right?
What?
You know I'm
You
not
are
getting paid,
contracted.
right?
What?
You are contracted. Don't you go nowhere. The only thing I dislike about the Pro thing is I don't know why Sony keeps doing this. Because me, it just feels like you don't have to do that. This is the stand thing. I don't. That
The
seems so
stand
cheap.
thing was the worst. The stand is more offensive than the price of the console.
I agree.
Oh yeah. Are you seriously selling me a fucking stand? So but the worst thing is you have to buy it because otherwise you can't. What are you gonna do? You're gonna like tie a rope around it and hang it from the ceiling. It's just like swinging.
You're just
Like, I
gonna
don't-
lay it on
what-
its side without the clip, without the paper clip. I don't get
But
it. I don't.
It needs a stand to be on its side too, right? Doesn't it?
Supposedly, so that the disk drive. So
Huh.
well, there's no disk drive, but so that everything stays level, right? Like so that it.
Oh,
I don't know.
God,
I don't get it.
that is
like
that is crazy to me. Yeah.
it was a bad design to begin with, and then
Where's
they
yours
just-
at?
Yeah,
Yours
why-
laying sideways, or are you straight up and down?
mine's vertical. Hopefully that liquid
Same.
problem doesn't ever hit me.
I know, right?
Wait, there's a liquid problem?
Supposedly, we talked about this way back.
The liquid metal around the liquid paste, metal
Okay.
paste, conductive metal around the CPU can sometimes leak out of the seal. It's rare, but it has happened.
Yeah.
The amount of shit I got for like posting something about that was phenomenal. It's like, dude, the dude has a picture of it happening. It's happened because
Right.
it gets hot and it drops the seal. So
It was a big
It-
discussion some time back. I think last year for that, right? Was that about last year? Risk?
Oh, it might
Best
even
before?
been longer than that.
Might have
Yeah.
been.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
We've been going
much
a
like
while.
much like you, Detective C's, I don't have a stand on my PS5. I just have it standing up and sitting over there, just looking at me like, "Will you play me?" No. But although
you just did. You
recently.
just played Astrobot.
True.
I
Yeah.
went to D-brand the minute they had those plates, and I got the black plates that are all like they're conformed to the space
like
instead of
that,
having
yeah.
those giant bat wings.
Collars.
Oh my gosh, it's the stupidest looking thing. And then they had these stickers that you could wrap
really
around the black middle. You know how it's like the shiny plastic
Yeah.
middle. So then it
Yeah.
had a sticker that you could put on there, and then a sticker on the lights to change the lights a different color. Like I did as much as I could to that thing to not make it look the way it was.
Spruce it up.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Why don't they
Right.
just release it like a box, man? Just make it square. You know,
It's
like we
so
don't-
big. It's just too big. Even if it was the ugly shape it is, it's just too big. Shut up. I'm out.
I do.
Goodbye.
You
Goodbye,
walked
chat.
directly
That's
into
enough.
that.
I've had enough
Come on.
tonight. I'm done.
What
I'm
do you mean by
done.
that, Holly?
Come on.
What do you mean by
You
that?
had to hear that.
Come back, Holly.
back. Holly, come back. You can blame
Oh my God.
Come back, Holly.
That was the first one of the show, though. That's I think like we're an hour and 38 in. That's
I
like
mean,
the
we were
longest
doing
we've
really,
ever
really
gone with
good.
it.
We were doing really,
Yeah.
really good for a long time. So.
Yeah, we
We're
got there.
sorry, Holly. Come back.
I
Forgive us.
apologize.
We apologize.
So look, we talked a lot about the Pro. I do want to just talk quickly about. I mean, look, Space Marine. I think we're all going to have the same opinion on. Is just absolutely phenomenal game. This is a Gears game that scratches my Gears itch, and it's good fun. Like it's just a good old. It's probably I think IGN came out with it's like the best Gears game that isn't Gears, or the best new Gears game that isn't Gears. Someone else came out with it's the best 360 game of this generation, but all in a very positive way. It's simple, it's effective, it's fun, it's linear, it tells a story. The Ultramarines are just tough, gritty, brother, blah type dudes. I love that. It's like an 80s action movie in a video game. Simple, effective, combat's fun. There's nothing, I don't have to think too much. You know, I just crushing shit and cutting it in half with a chainsaw. Like this, great game. I'm loving it.
How does the
and
parrying
I'm gonna-
work on there for you? Like, is it really solid? The parrying.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. The mechanic's pretty
Interesting.
simple. Like anytime if for one that's going to be kind of a heavy one, obviously it'll give you like an indicator where it's red, so you have to dodge. But if it's a blue one, you can basically do some type of parry and do an animation. And then there's like a regular parry for like the little like anyone just doing an attack on you where it's not a blue indicator. You basically just time the hit and then it parries through them and then actually like just kind of like pushes them away or hits them like hits and slices through them as you parry away from them. So you'll see like ones that are kind of off the screen where the blue indicators come in, and that lets you know that like someone's about to jump in and hit you, which you can go ahead and turn the tide against them. So it's really cool. You can get
the parry doesn't
cool.
work very well on the big guys. Like I'm always like,
agreed.
I mean, there's got to be you have to be a little bit more time for them compared to like the little guys.
Yeah, but you know, like the little guys, like you do that like ground pound, like animation thing. But the big guys, I've never really seen much help. Like
I parry them
you do
quite
it.
a bit. It's the little guys to me when I get swarmed, where like they're cutting into my ability to get my combo off, right? So I want to get like it's like 1, 2, 3 heavy, you know what I'm saying? And like they're on you, and you're seeing like the shield or stuff starts to go down, and all of a sudden you're taking down. And I'm just like, I need help. Get jumped.
Yeah.
Last night though, like I've played it a few times and it's ran perfectly, no problems. Except last night I was playing with Riskit and Grey Monad, and doggone it, that game was having all kinds of problems last night. Like Monad was stuck in a rock.
Oh damn.
He couldn't move.
Yeah.
We had to reload
He
the
got
checkpoint.
The
And
other
then
thing I
rock
think
in a hard place.
is when you're co-oping is that ability to parry is a little bit broken, because playing it single player, so with the little guys you can like parry 3 hours before that guy jumps at you, and you're still going to catch him in the air, rip him in half, and slap him on the ground. With the big guys, like sometimes you parry and I'm like, I know I got that one, and it just does not register at all. So I think with co-op, and then with what happened with Holly's game last night, oh my god, we're like, did we just miss a whole?
We were playing a campaign mission. We did like the first 2 or 3 fights. We were maybe about halfway through. And then the loading server. Oh, that's the other thing with this game. It has the longest load times. I have never had a game take this long to load since the Xbox One generation. It is so long. But it was loading server to go to the next point, because we're on an elevator going to a next part. And it just ended the mission. Like advance, like we just wound up loading into the cutscene that you get at the end of the mission. Didn't actually play the rest of the mission, didn't get the achievement, didn't show that we completed it. It was just like, it was a weird glitch, so we had to redo the whole thing
from start. It was really strange. So the co-op, I think, is there's a little bit broken there, but the game itself, when you're playing single player, super polished. Haven't had a drama at all. It's been like bang on, and the parries are cool. They're just cool.
Very satisfying.
There's nothing like
some of the kills and stuff. The finishers are just really, really satisfying, man. Like ripping like one of the what's name's called, the Tyranids or something like that.
Tyranids,
ripping like one of their kind of legs off, and then like grabbing their face and then jamming it through their, it's really, really satisfying. A lot of the finishers and kills on it.
So good, especially that floaty eyeball thing that's really annoying. I don't know if you got to them yet, but when they hit the ground and then you like pick them up and you basically rip the middle of them out of their body,
the eye octopus guys, right? Who?
Yeah, we call them eyeballs.
I hate those guys.
So they're painful, man. They're really painful. But when you get one and you like rip it to shreds, I'm loving this game. I think the back end of 2024 is going to be really, really good, right? But I had to do one, right? Holly started, so now we're in it. But I think back in 2024 is going to be absolutely amazing. I think we've already had like 2 massive banger games.
Two massive. Stop, dude. Stop.
So look, does anyone else want to add anything to the Space Marine? I think it did really, really well. It was one of the biggest. It's one of the fastest selling games that they've had since. I think one of the heads of Saber is also a former head of id Software. He said this sold faster than Doom 2016 than any other game that he's ever worked on. So this is great for Focus Entertainment. Apparently, Focus Entertainment has taken a prepayment on the sales from Space Marine 2 from Tencent, and that means that Saber Interactive gets to keep hold of a particular studio from memory, or they decided to let them go. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not super up on that story, but things are looking good for Saber Interactive. So I'm pretty happy because they have released some good games and they've released some pretty bad games. So it should be interesting. And it's great for focus as well. I wish my dog would shut up. Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm going to go.
from what I understand with the Embracer situation with Beacon Interactive, I guess buying Saber Interactive, they couldn't get the buyout for 4A Games and Zen Studios. So that affected the situation with Space Marines Dev Studio as well. I would ask a question since you guys are playing it. What would you guys say that Space Marines 2 is your current game of the year, or should it be nominated?
No. I mean, it's good, but I don't think it's.
I don't know if it's game of the year, but it's definitely good. Like I'm having, and Holly, this isn't for you, so cover your ears. But I'm having
It's
as much
Helldivers,
fun with
isn't
it as I was with Helldivers, right? So that's
Oh no,
it's
this
kind
is
of
better than
But
Helldivers.
to me, that's like that's good. It's fitting that. It's scratching that itch, right? Where
Yeah.
you can jump in with friends and you can basically have some good mindless fun. That to me is checking the boxes. So I don't think it's game of the year, but it's definitely a really, really good, solid game.
To me, it's
I
like
think it
Mission
should-
Impossible. They're really good movies. They're fun, but you're not nominating them for like movie of the year.
Yeah, but they're like
right?
really, really
Yeah.
solid entertainment. Yeah,
Right.
That's a good analogy.
I think there should be. This dog will not stop. He's barking at a chicken. Like he's never seen a chicken before. He sees it every day.
Do you have
but
chickens
anyway,
just walking around in town?
no. His next door neighbor's got chicken. I'll tell you a story about how I chased the chicken around my
single
backyard
chicken?
once.
Or
They've got
Does it-
three.
do you have a rooster
Oh,
that gets
okay.
you up at like 4 a.m.?
No roosters.
Yeah, he's
just
got
won't-
foghorn out there. I say that, boy.
Yeah, let it. He won't shut up, and he's distracting me.
Salutations,
But
boy.
I think it should be nominated for. Should be nominated for something.
See, this is your
There
fault.
should be
Riskit.
like a best
I would
action
never have
game.
said salutations if you have not been saying it for like the last 4 weeks. So
Salutations.
top
Welcome back.
salutations.
I think it should be nominated for something. Like I think it's deserving of something. I think for a double A studio to get to put this out, as polished as it is, it has issues. But when you chase the chicken, did you eventually choke the chicken?
Damn. See, now we're off the walls again.
Well, did
Word.
you?
It's not a
That's-
joke about me.
That's all gone again. We're back. We're back to being off the rails. So
That's good. That is good. I'll pay that. That's
there's a hope, guys.
as soon as Holly started laughing, I was like, "Where is it?" Something. I'm like, "There it is."
I agree with that, by the way, William Riggs. Helldivers 2 should
chicken.
add AI teammates. No, AI teammates, I think that would be smart for Helldivers 2.
Agreed. It'd keep the game going as well. Yeah, it'd be just like Space Marine at that point, and you'd be dropping and doing your thing. Yeah, I think it should be nominated for something. Look, we'll jump on to the next topic. We got a little bit of time left, I think. So, Astrobot. I went out and someone who's followed me for years, by the way. So I was doing topics, looking at topics. I'm like, well, there's not a whole lot like really going on that I want to talk about. And I'm like, I haven't played Astrobot. Everyone loves Astrobot. So let me go check this out. So I bought Astrobot, right? Put up a post for Astrobot. Someone that's followed me for years, and he whom refrains called me a cuck
Whoa.
for playing
Wow.
games. Yeah, my response was you misspelt gamer. But look, I'll play anything anywhere. Like if it's on PlayStation and I hear it's good, I'm gonna go check it out, man. Like I am a gamer before I'm anything else when it comes to gaming. Like if it's good, I want to see it. Like so, my thing with this, I've only played 2 hours and it was tough last night. The missus was out with her girlfriends doing a thing, so I was looking after the kids. My daughter's sick. She was waking up every 5 minutes, so I had a monitor watching her whilst I was like playing the game. So I'm like looking at the screen, looking at the thing, looking at the screen. So I got about 2 hours interrupted into the game. And this is what I found. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know, Umbra, you almost platinumed it. Holly, you played a bit. So
I'm glad to for sure.
I haven't haven't seen any good usage of the DualSense yet either. So I mean, maybe that comes later.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
no,
It's almost instant, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very early. I think maybe the little one being sick has like, you know what I mean? You didn't have enough attention on what you were doing. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but-
saying? To
so
like
I'm
get
like-
the full to get
okay.
the immersive experience of more than like 5 minutes of something, and then you know what I mean?
So you you fly in and you can like direct the flight, but it doesn't really do a whole lot. And then
It will.
But there's no like trigger. Like I haven't had any trigger usage. Like the first Astrobot, there was some
It will
stuff
come.
where I was like, "Holy shit, this
Yep.
is cool!" Like you using
At
the
the end
trigger
of a
at the
level,
right-
though, you use the triggers to shoot off of the planet.
Yeah,
and
but
hit the...
there's just nothing there
have you
that the Xbox
have you
can
found
do.
ice yet?
Yes. Yep. What do you do with that? I have skating on the ice. Yeah.
Yeah. The skating, you don't feel the like it feels like
Um,
you're skating, like
I
whatever
mean,
that would be
if-
that's in your hands with the sound coming out of the.
Oh, I turn that sound off. I don't play. I play with headphones. all the time,
Normally,
so
I would agree with you, but in this game, the sound in the controller is key to the experience.
I agree.
Hmm.
Is this actually? I wrote this in a little review I did on Twitter. I said that as much as I love the Elite, I think the Elite is the best controller in gaming. This game made the DualSense feel like a very premium. Like it felt like the most premium controller just because of how well it's implemented.
It is part of the game, like, and all aspects of what the controller does, including the sound. The only thing I don't like about the controller is I do not like the gyro stuff. Right.
Agreed.
So I turned that off. But everything else,
Why don't
I
you?
kept that on, but because I think it's some parts where it works okay. But overall, I do agree with you. That gyro part annoyed the hell
I
out of
don't
me.
like that.
Also,
Yeah.
blowing into the controller, I did not like doing that. I really did not.
What, you weren't trying to get your
I
Kiwi
mean-
on?
No, I felt like I was Diddy blowing into somebody's ear.
Damn.
Take that. And I wasn't feeling that. And
All right, Shannon, calm down.
and I felt like I had to like, you know how you feel guilty doing something, you're looking around, nobody's by you, but you got to look around anyway. That's what it felt like blowing into that controller. Like I felt guilty. It felt wrong.
Yeah,
But
Papa
yeah.
Barco, we're talking about Astrobot, but look, so the feeling and the sound, that's not where I think the DualSense can shine. I think it can shine like, yeah, I mean it's nice, the feeling and whatever, but I don't give a fuck about that. Like the usage of the triggers. When I first saw the DualSense, I was like, man, so every single PlayStation game has a bow and arrow, like every single first party, like someone's got a bow and arrow somewhere, right? So like that's going to be awesome because you're going to be like pulling back the
The
triggers
tension on
and
the wire. Yeah.
but it's not. I mean, I don't like Horizon, so Horizon for me is just not my jam, and the second one it made it worse. It implemented what I really didn't like about the first one, and it expanded on that. So I haven't played it, but that has a bow and arrow, and apparently there's an implementation there, but I haven't really seen it
Turn the
fully
turn-
used.
Turn the sound back on for the game, for this game. I agree with you. Normally, I hate it. Turn it back on for this game.
I agree.
Shout out to Spartan661 for gifting 5 memberships. We appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely champion. Yeah, he's a champion.
This is Spartan 61 Cortana.
Thank you. So yeah, Spartan. So I'll quickly just do Detective Seeds. Did with the 20 memberships. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate you, brother, for coming through. Checking out the show. And then also Spartan 661 with the 5 gifted memberships. You're an absolute champion as well. We appreciate you all. We appreciate you all for coming through and listening to us. I definitely won't be blowing into the controller. That implementation will be turned off, Bobby. 100%. But look, everyone's like, oh, the use of the haptics. And like these are all people that I trust. Like you guys have said it. You know, Kay said it. Lots of people that I would trust their opinion, that I know they're genuine about their video games, but I just am not feeling it yet. Like I'm like, where's this extra? I'm not being a bot. Like, you know, if it's good, I'll say it's
Play
good.
it when
just
you don't have a sick child interrupting you, and turn on the ding dang sound out of the controller and give it a solid hour like that, uninterrupted with the sound on, and go from there.
Also, I would disagree. You are being a bot by default. You're Astro, so don't like I don't know why you said that. No, joke. No, seriously though, no, she's absolutely correct. Just play it with all of that on. I think it works best. The gyro thing, I definitely agree. I did not like that too much. It's parts where again it works okay. You'll get past it. I'll put it to you like that. The blowing into the controller could have done without that, but you're not into it enough yet to fully experience it. Once you feel that the rain hitting you when little rain droplets and stuff like that, and you're skating on ice, you really
Bouncing
start
into the ball, like into the ball
Yeah.
pits, or
yeah.
Bouncing into the what?
shut up. That's why I added bits on the end.
Smart, very wise. But yeah, like all of those things combined together, you get Captain Planet. No, but seriously, all of those things help elevate the game a lot. But I wondered too, though, if that plus the nostalgia factor with all the callbacks to first and third party bots in the game, if that factored into the review scores more than it should have. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the commentary around the game is, oh, it's as good as the best Mario's. Shout out to K. No shade, of course, but I'm like, no, I disagree.
Nah,
But
I don't think so, because I have zero connection with Jax
Mario.
and Daxter or
um,
God of War, or like I didn't play those, and I didn't play.
You didn't play God of
Papa-
War 2018?
I own it.
Oh,
I just never played it.
wow.
I
Holy-
can't get past
Nice.
him screaming "boy" in Atreyu or whatever it is during the commercials. It drives me nuts, and I'm
wild.
like, if I have
Oh.
to listen for hours of him screaming "boy,"
Why
it's
don't
gonna
you
drive
like
me
him
crazy.
screaming boy? What's wrong with
It's
that?
just
He
it's
doesn't-
annoying. It's annoying.
he doesn't. But he doesn't. He barely talks. That's the thing with Kratos.
Wait.
He- and-
wait.
and the
Holly's
only-
selective with her
Anyway,
because she's okay
I
if
own
Marcus
it.
yelling.
I own it. I
"Nice,"
will
for
play it
every
eventually.
reload,
I
Marcus
just
will,
haven't.
Nice, but she has a problem with him going,
Nice.
boy, every now
Yes.
and then. You're selective with
Nice.
your dude, bro. I get it. I get what you're doing here.
It's the I think it's the it like it was the marketing, right? Because that was screamed a lot. Anyway, I own it.
You have
I
to
will
play God of War now. You have to.
Yeah.
I'll play it eventually. I own it. I will play it eventually. But my point is, I don't have any connection to any of that stuff, and I still I have an appreciation for the fact that they brought that into the game. I think that's a nice feature, but I don't have like that emotional nostalgia to those characters specifically.
So any other characters in it though? Like no.
Yes. I mean, I really love Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Um,
It's funny you
they're-
say that, by the way, because I think Rift Apart is better than this. No
I think
shade.
the original, the 2018 Ratchet and Clank,
Going commando
is-
probably and stuff like that. And
No, it's the original Ratchet and Clank, the one that came out before this one, right? I think that one was better than
Oh,
Rift
for PS4.
Apart.
Got you. Yeah.
Nah, I think that one's better than than what was it called, Rift Apart.
Yeah.
But I do very much like Ratchet and Clank a lot. think
I
it's
do too.
fantastic.
I'm with you. Shout out
But
to
I like
Kate, by the way.
Astrobot
Kate
better.
corrected it.
Well, no, I don't know which one I like better.
Well, keep
I like
playing
both.
it. You'll probably come to a consensus on it. But Kay did say he didn't say it was better. He said it comes closer than any other title has. Now there were others who were saying it's flat out as good as the best Mario's. I'm like, I disagree with that. Part of the reason why I disagree is because Astrobot isn't that challenging. That's the only thing I dislike about it, is that outside of the like challenge stages, whatever levels, it's not a very challenging game. And I think platformers are kind of defined by the challenge that they add. That's the really big thing I would add against it.
I agree with that. Like it's pretty easy. There's no real consequence either for you
There's
dying. Like you die,
some-
you go back.
Well,
Holly
yeah,
just be dying
but
a lot, so Holly's like,
no.
I don't know.
Most of the core
Skeleton.
levels, they're not really hard, but they're so fascinating that it's not. It doesn't detract from it just being a fun game to play, because there's so many cool things that you're doing all the time, and it's the puzzle system, right? Like how to get this or how to find that or how to get up to a certain place. But there are levels that you have not seen yet that will make you mad.
There are some good boss
They'll
battles
make you mad.
throughout. You like some of the boss fights in some ways. I think I liked a few of them. Again, maybe it might be a case where, as Everborn had pointed out on other things, hey, they're not really talking to me, right? So maybe this game is not focused specifically for us in those respects. It's probably meant for all audience kind of thing. So maybe that's why it's kind of easier in that way. I had my younger nephew come by and he tried it out, and his eyes were glowing up like he was playing Mario. So I have to give them that.
Him.
Yeah, I corrupted him absolutely. He's going to be a pony now. I
I
apologize,
was,
Xbox brethren.
I was in a party chat with Assassin when he was playing, and I haven't gotten there yet. So I'm saying, but he was losing his freaking mind. He was playing this level, and he was like, "I hate you, Astrobot." Blah blah blah. And I was like, and you know, Assassin's really good at video games. But he said it was a lava level, and like when he said that on the podcast on Tuesday, everybody's like, "Oh, the lava level," and I'm like, "Oh, great!" Like, like knowing that I have something coming that like is going to be absolutely horrible. But
let me ask you,
Spartan with
Holly.
the 661 with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you again. Really appreciate you, Spartan.
Good night,
Shout out,
Spartan.
Spartan. Let me ask you, did you feel, because there was a comparison video I'll put out about, I'm sure you all saw it by now, where they were saying like Astrobot borrows from all these other things. It doesn't have any originality. You know, it's got the Mario elements. It's got this from this game, and which it does. It has a ton of those things from other games, from other platformers. I don't think that's necessarily a negative or a bad thing, as long as you utilize it right. And I think this game does. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think it, in your opinion, is a negative, or it takes away from its originality in some way that is not wholly original in that way?
I don't think that conversation is valid. I think that comes from a lot of people who are just wanting to hate on Astrobot on the whole, or hate on PlayStation on the whole. Because every game is iterative of something that's come before that, right? Or at least modern games, right?
Agreed.
So I just don't think that's a valid argument whatsoever, me personally.
No,
I think it does a lot, and it does a lot of cool stuff in its own way. That's not, like Mario turned into an elephant, yes. But like what Astrobot's elephant did is different than what Mario's elephant did, and things like that.
It's spoilers, man. Spoilers.
I feel like this game is devoid of spoilers to me. Like
I heard that there's something in the credits that make you cry, but so don't tell me that.
I didn't sense that at all. Like I hear them on that, but I didn't. Nah, they didn't do it for me.
The only thing that makes me cry with PlayStation is the fact that they priced the Pro at $700.
$699? Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, look, I'm just not 110% feeling it, and I am probably a dude bro a little bit. Like when it comes to
nobody
shooters
is 110% feeling that price.
Probably a little.
Like you say, the price is the shocker, and eventually maybe someone gets over it and they grab it because they're an enthusiast. But no one is saying, "I can't wait to spend $700."
That much money. Yeah. No, I mean, but I was meaning Astrobot. Like I'm not super feeling it. Like it's I don't know. Mario.
Did you play all of Playroom?
Yes. Yeah, I finished it. I went back and did that. Like there was a lull a couple of years ago after I got the PS5, and I'm like, I never finished this. I thought it was cool, but yeah, I finished it.
Did you like it?
Yeah, and I thought the implementation of the DualSense in that was like crazy, because there was parts where like you had to use the triggers like in conjunction to get stuff right, like to like line things up, and there was then there was some of the gyro stuff, and like that's where I think it shines, like using that haptic feedback triggers and using the gyro, like, and then using all that stuff sort of in conjunction to do things. I just haven't seen any of that. Like it feels cool when you're skating and like there's feeling stuff, but like it's an advanced rumble pack doesn't like float my boat. That doesn't like, I'm not like, yeah, they nailed this. But if they start using the features that you could do some really cool physics things with, then that's where I'll be like, oh, the implementation is really here, and they're really using it to its full extent. I think like that third parties and first parties have done a really good job of using the Rumble Pack, but I think they've done a really poor job of using the gyro, using the haptic, and using all that sort of stuff within games. And it's also my hope, and I'll say it again, I've said it from day one, a lot of Xbots will disagree with me until the next generation when we get a haptic feedback Xbox controller, and everyone's like, well, I like haptic feedback. But when that comes along...
Colt said that project got canceled, and I seriously wanted to cry when I heard that because I was really upset. I really want an Xbox controller with haptic feedback in it. But
Wait,
I don't think it did.
I don't think it got canceled. I'm thinking they're just not doing it until the next console comes out.
Yeah, so it's tied. This is what I've
I don't
heard.
know.
So
I don't know.
it still exists, and it's
Yeah,
tied
I
to
can't
the
imagine
next
them
Xbox.
I can't
if I
imagine the next console come
misspoke,
out with
I'm
the
sorry.
same-
Put that on me, not Colt. But I thought I heard him say that project had kind of been.
Everyone send Colt hate mail now.
For real.
Send cold hate, mate. If they would be silly not to do it, because that would be advancing gaming if they released a haptic, and then third-party developers had to develop for both, and then we got really good implementations of haptic feedback, different physics and things that were happening in third-party games as well as your first-party games. That would be really cool. But what I heard, and I'll double-check this to see if it's still the thing, but the thing that I heard is it's tied to the next Xbox. So... because I heard that console, that controller was going to be announced at one of the events, and then followed up afterwards. Because I'm like, what the fuck happened, man? Because you said it was going to be shown at the event. I followed that up, and he's like, they've tied it to the next console as a feature to get the next console. So something that can help to sell that console. Like, hey, we have haptic feedback with.
To me,
also fair.
To me, it wouldn't make sense for the Xbox controllers probably sell more than their consoles. All right, sorry, that was wrong. I'm sorry.
To Kay's point,
Xbox controllers are like the accessories. I think they move a good number of those. So it's like if you're going to get to a point where maybe you're not selling as many consoles, you're going to want people who are, at least if they're playing on PC, to be able to go buy your controller. So why would you just not have something planned to compete to what Sony has going for the controller? You ain't revamped it in forever, so I can't see canceling it altogether. That would just be like, okay, so no changes.
Don't forget as well that the developers have to input into the game the usage of those haptics, right? You have to get the developers to develop for that.
Yeah, but they own a lot of developers. You own a lot of developers that you can get to build in features for your controller.
True. We'll see. Maybe they are doing that.
Look, I want it. I'm not trying to poo-poo the idea. I'm just saying, there's some
all this money.
There's some frustrating blocks in between. Yes.
Yeah, Holly, stop being a Debbie Downer on this.
No, I'm just gonna go yell at someone else.
Good night, all.
I'm gonna go yell. I think if you've got both the console makers both have the haptic feedbacks, I think that gives the developers like that push that they need to go, all right, we need to start really doing this, and then one third party does a good implementation with both. Another third party goes, well, we need that in our game, and then that's how you sort of get this sort of stuff moving along. Should be interesting to see if that plays out like it should. Anyway, it's been a fantastic show. We've run the 2 hours. See you later, everybody.
All right, everybody.
Just
to highlight Kay Asante's last post, he said, I think we should champion Astrobot. Small budget, 3 years, 3-year dev cycle with no microtransactions. If it becomes hot, it teaches PlayStation that not only black hole games can be successful. Hell, the black hole games they have themselves are not successful. So I agree with the sense that that should be a kind of thing, not even just for PlayStation. Xbox is more diverse though, so this is not really a lesson for them. But I would love for more games to PlayStation. I think that's kind of lost their way with that because they trained their audience to have that, like I said, their preference for third person.
Over the shoulder.
Yeah.
So
this would be good if it was successful and it kind of led them in that direction to diversify again. And unfortunately, it seems like the sales are not that great for Astrobot right now, so it might not teach them that lesson.
That's another conversation that one day I want to kind of have in terms of like, it's really hit or miss as to like what games are going to come out and be successful. It seems like lately, and and a part of it to me seems a little bit of like some apathy with gamers to a degree, where they spend more time like complaining about stuff and kind of wanting to hate things without actually putting any effort to trying them. That it just becomes something that like gets shunned and you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of games get missed out on because the hate train gets ahead of it on socials. And so you see a lot of games like Astrobot, you would think that would do like, is it doing better numbers than Playroom?
I mean, it's doing better numbers than Concord, which is a lot of the. But listen, I could literally bring you up 6 articles right now that are touting Astrobot as a success because it did better than Concord. I'm not kidding, because I was going through the topics and those types of articles kept coming up. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys like? This is not news. Like, you could release an indie game right now and it would sell more than Concord. Why are you pitching Astrobot as a success? Because it beat Concord. That's really weird. And then
the PS5 Pro costs more than the highest concurrent players on Concord.
Damn.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Right. I mean, it's 0 because they pulled the game. But like, that's crazy to me. But then the other thing was I found Push Square, who was like giving it like it's true. So in Japan, it's not doing too well. And in the UK, the sales aren't great either. And that was sort of my post. I heard Astrobot wasn't doing so well, so I went and bought a copy. And that's like a genuine, I wasn't being a dick. That's a genuine, like, I actually want this game to succeed because it's a little bit different. It's one of those, it's a platformer. I love these sort of 3D platformers. They're good. And I like to have this variety in a sort of a AAA space. We get a lot of indies that are like this, but not polished to this degree. And I'll admit, I said, I don't understand how you could say this game's polished till I played it. And I'm like, I get it. Okay, I get it. This game is definitely polished.
It's full price, right? 70?
No,
Yeah.
It's 60.
Yeah.
No, it's 60. It's not 70.
It cost me 110.
Well,
So.
that's Australia. Get wrecked.
Damn.
Get wrecked.
Damn.
Australians,
It's 60.
get her.
It's
You're
60.
right. $59.99. All right. So do we think that like if this is priced at 40, they move more units?
Oh, definitely.
You know,
It
like,
is
is it just the price now?
fantastic, beautiful, fun. Like, there is something about this game. I also got the controller too, and it's adorable.
It's
and
not. It's just
it
a low
is.
effort controller. It's not.
You shut your pie hole.
Damn.
Shut your biscuit hole. It is. There's something about this
Sorry
game.
about this. So sorry. I did not mean to press that one. We gotta wait for it to stop because I don't know how to make it stop. I'm sorry. All right, go ahead. Apologies.
Soundboards should.
Yeah, I know. There's that
Yeah,
one's
they should
longer
be
than
Everyone
regulated.
should have one.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Everyone should have one.
You should have a
Apologies.
license for those things.
Yeah, so sorry.
No,
The only good controller they made is
Astrobot-
Concord. But anyway,
Astrobot is an absolutely beautiful game, and there's something about it that makes it, like, me personally, I just feel like warm and cozy and kind of like happy from the inside when I play it. I don't know. It's a stupid thing. I don't know how to describe it. Stop it. I'm trying to be serious. This is not a goofy thing. Like, there's something very, very special about this game that makes you feel
Like a kid again?
kind of, sort of. There's just something. It's like kind of that like little like it melts your Grinch heart kind of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems to me from everything I'm hearing, because like Rand really enjoyed it too, and like you platinumed it already, right, Umbra? Or all right, Umbra.
Sorry about that. I did. I platinum. I was not asleep.
Y'all still here? All right, yeah. Astrobot's cool, dog. Cool Astrobot. No, but I mean, like everything I hear is that it seems like it's tapping into the joyful side of gaming, which is you need that, right? Everything shouldn't be like you know,
Not everything
super
has to be
hard,
Warhammer or Call of Duty or
Right.
Helldivers or
Souls-like
you
or
know,
something like
right?
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
but so Cass, I said, so now we know Riskit has no heart. He was never a kid. He came out of his mum or a grown curmudgeon. Like possibly, dude. I'm a grumpy old man. Like my missus sometimes just looks at me and rolls her eyes because she's like, "Really? You're gonna complain about that?" That's a problem to you? I'm like, yeah, well, you're breathing too loud, you know? Dumb it down. No, I'm not that bad. But also, I sort of think, has Sony trained its gamers to just like a specific sort of game and buy that specific sort of game? The hardcores you see on Twitter are not the ones I'm talking about, because they'll literally squash out some dog shit into a DVD case, and those guys would buy it and tout it as the best thing since sliced bread. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about the actual PlayStation gamer in the background that plays games. Have they been trained to expect just these, you know, third person over the shoulder, bow and arrow, has a companion, harrowing story?
Like bow and arrows. He really does not like.
I do. I love them.
The
I
character.
think it's a great idea. But have they been trained to just get that kind of game, and then you've got your casuals? Is that what the problem is? Like, because I think and the Xbox gamers that are talking shit about this on Twitter and stuff, the guy that called me a cuck, like, if they played this game, they would probably go, "This is all right." Like, and I'm not saying that the game's bad when I'm bringing up, like, I haven't seen the implementation. I'm liking it. I'm just not. I've got Space Marine 2, and I'm feeling that more than I'm feeling Astrobot. But I think if I get into Astrobot, I'm really going to like it. I think that most people would like this game. Like,
that's part of why I don't like to play multiple games at once, by the way, because one of them can overpower the other. I don't like that.
Get that. That makes sense. That's why I'm keeping it. Like, I'm scratching 2 itches right now, right? I want to get my multiplayer stuff with Space.
My mind went immediately to where I promise it did. I'm sorry.
Oh my god,
it spread around now. First it was Holly, then it was Riskit. Now it's on you, Donte.
That's all. No, but I'm just saying, I'm keeping it between 2, right? Where I'm getting my multiplayer stuff, and then I'm getting my like open world exploration, Star Wars, fantasy, and Outlaws. But if I introduce like another game or something like that, that would definitely take away from it. I'm actually going to make sure I complete these 2 in terms of story, and then I'll obviously kind of keep jumping back and forth on the multiplayer for Space Marines before I go into anything else that's like a single player narrative, not introduce a third one.
Yeah.
I got so much, man. I'm 110% feeling that. I got so much in the backlog. I realized that coming back from work this way, I was like, you know, Marvel's that Marvel RTS that well, not RTS, TTS went on sale. I need to play that. Like, I've got Flintlock. I will want to play that. I've got Ghost of Tsushima I need to finish off. I've got so many games in the backlog. I'm starting to get to that point where I'm like, please stop. Like, just please stop. Like, just give me a couple of months to get it through. Xbox, don't listen to me. If release new games, you need to. Everyone else, stop.
Chill out.
7 PlayStation. We got to move on. We got to get out of here. Oh,
wait,
Plucky Squire is another one. Yeah,
that's coming out this week,
wait for
and
that.
Dead Rising comes out a week from today too. Which
Yes.
I'm definitely getting.
Same.
played it.
The one other thing about
is that single or multi Dead Rising?
single.
Single. Okay. Well.
The other thing is, if you are a person who's thinking, oh, I'll just wait, I think I am one of the people. I really think that Astrobot will not come to PC. I don't know if you want to do like a quick round of if you think it will or won't. I think it's rare. I don't think it'll
Playroom
go to
on
PC.
PC.
No, it's not. I feel it
Isn't-
should, because I think that their sales, if they were smart, they would put it there, because it's not taken off as it should for whatever reason on PlayStation. Hell, if they put it on
And
Nintendo,
I can't believe that. I'm really surprised. I don't.
it's
think it'll
sad,
go to PC.
unfortunately. But put it on PC. Hell, if they
Do you
brought
think
it to
the
Nintendo,
controller
I think
being
it would
like
go crazy.
integral to the gameplay as part of the reason why
It is.
Yeah, but you can still do haptic.
You
You
can
can still do the haptic feedback through PC. So
Yeah,
that is a thing.
I just don't
but
think it's so.
Detective Seeds agrees with you, and
PlayStation-centric.
I saw Detective Seeds on a show. Sorry to jump in, but I saw Detective Seeds on a show saying he has heard or knows someone, and they are saying it's not coming, or in an inside track. He knows that it's not coming to PC. But Detective, I'm gonna tell you this: that'll change, because the sales aren't phenomenal, and they've seen the sales on PC, and I think that'll 110% change. Sorry, Holly, you were saying it's not because.
Well, I just think that it is so like everything about Astrobot is about PlayStation specifically, right? And that doesn't mean that that's absolutely no reason to put it on PC. I think this game should be everywhere because I love it, right? But I just I don't know. The Playroom was a tech demo for PlayStation solely to show off the console and the haptic feedback and what that can do specifically, right? Even the parts of the game, even this game, parts of the game are about the parts in the PlayStation, right? I hope it goes to PC so that other people can see it, but I would not count on this coming to PC like we do the larger scale games like God of War or Spider-Man or
I would hope it goes to it just so it can sell well. If it's not for
yeah,
anything
because
else.
I want another one.
So,
So,
so that way they don't say, hey, we haven't moved enough units on these and
Exactly.
make a third one. I hear you.
Now we got to close Team Asobi like we did Team Japan. So, things like that I don't want to be the case. Team Asobi absolutely deserves a W here. And it would be a shame if it's held back by poor sales, even though it definitely deserves them. That said, I do hear the implementation of the PlayStation stuff and how central it is to PlayStation. And that's part of another issue I did have with it. And Danny brought this up on the show. He's like, a lot of the reviews are kind of like, oh, it pays homage to the PlayStation. And I think that kind of overclouded their judgment in ways. And that's why you're seeing some people saying it's a masterpiece. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I think it's a really great game. But I would have loved if Team Asobi, or if they can in the future, give Astrobot his own and not anonymity, his own I guess
it's
universe.
relying a little bit on PlayStation nostalgia for some of
its own
characters.
independence away from having to rely on that. Because he has nothing. He's basically a blank canvas of he's a robot, I know, but he has the charm, don't get me wrong, but he dances and all that. You can dance, but it's not, he doesn't have a lore to himself. He doesn't have a central villain,
like a universe.
Central antagonist, anything. It's all, oh, look, PlayStation ship that you have to build back up and all. Like, I would love for them to get away from that.
Whereas,
and
like,
give him its own
Mario
thing.
has, like, we know all the Mario characters and antagonists and stuff like that. As like
exactly
universe in that regard.
Same with Crash or whatever and other games like that. They have their
to that
own
point, it would be
thing.
much easier to port off to different platforms as well, right?
That too.
No,
I disagree with that. And circling back to what you guys were saying is that's as a reason, as an argument to not go onto PC. I think that's an argument to go to PC. Saw Detective Seeds making that argument too on that show. And I was like, that's a reason for it to go to PC, because then you're like, hey, this is getting you into the PlayStation nostalgia, giving you a warm feeling about PlayStation. You like driving it into
PC
people's
players
heads.
don't buy PlayStations though; they'll wait. You know what I mean?
Like, true.
They don't need to, but also some of the bigger hits that PlayStation have had games-wise, software-wise, that have gone to PC haven't sold phenomenally well. Some have on day one when they launched them. But if you go back to some of the older releases, they haven't sold hugely well. Getting those PC players to have a little bit of a nostalgia or a love for PlayStation is not a bad thing. They're not going to be trying to sell consoles. I think we got to get out of this mindset of everything's about trying to sell consoles. I think everything should be more about, everything's tracking towards trying to sell the software. I think that's where we're headed. I think PlayStation's headed there as well. And I think if that is where they're headed.
For PlayStation, its delivery method is the console. That's the focus.
So true. Yeah, that's their delivery. See, Microsoft doesn't have that problem.
Right.
They've deviated.
Especially if you're putting games a year later, right? Your delivery method to get the best sales from the software is at launch when everyone's talking about it. So the consoles for them right now is the focus. They haven't done that pivot the way Microsoft has done.
Yeah, true.
It'll happen. I think it'll happen. I think it's just easing their fans into it.
It's one Totoki away from.
Y'all got one.
And I think Totoki is the one that will make it. I think he'll have a game plan for that to happen much sooner rather than later, as day one.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Look, we got to wrap the show. We're 2.5 hours. We got to get out of here. Holly, it's another fantastic week. let people know where they can find you, what you be up to, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm ThatBlueNumber on Twitter and all of the gaming platforms. I am on the Renegade Realm podcast on Tuesday nights at 5 p.m. Central, which is on Red Wolf's channel here on YouTube. So that's where you can find me.
Absolutely. You can
Find Red Wolf on the Renegade Realm podcast.
sorry. Does that sound cool or no? Sorry.
It was okay.
Is that right?
Red Wolf Renegades.
You couldn't understand it very well.
Umbra, another fantastic week, another fantastic show. Let people know where they can find you, what you be up to, all the good stuff.
You guys can find me. What was that about? What the hell was that?
I got that. I do some salutations.
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 I heard it coming.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter X Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. Tuesdays the Xbox Factor if I'm woke at 12 o'clock Eastern. Thursdays the Fix at 8 o'clock Eastern. And of course, back here with these good people on Fridays on the Infinite Podcast at 8 o'clock Eastern. Guys, after this, the Mav, they're having their 200th episode. So I'm going to stop by there and say hello and wish them well. Riskit, if I'm not mistaken, here we're about 135 or so, something like that.
135, yeah.
Yeah, so
135.
we're getting there. We're close. Yeah, so hey, we'll have our 200th episode too here at one point. So, I hope you all spread the rumors to your friends and have them come out and support us. Buy some more super
That's when I'll
chats.
start.
Thank you all. Yeah.
That's when I'll start inviting people back again, like guests and stuffs and things. But
Yeah. Absolutely.
maybe
But
that-
everybody in the
maybe
audience,
that-
thank you guys for being here, holding us down, and Detective C's and Spartan, thanks for the subscriptions you bought for people.
The good things.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's really it. And yeah, thank you to the panel for you guys, your input and thoughts and things like that. It's always an inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for coming through and putting in 135 episodes. It's crazy. I think you've been here from day one. I think there's one you weren't on, only one, and that's a pretty good going.
Only missed like one episode, but day one here.
Donte, let people know where they can find you, what you're up to, and give them salutations and all that good
I'm
stuff.
not gonna do that. Damn it! All right, shout out to first off everybody who came and checked us out in the chat. You guys are the best, man. Always really cool and chill with inside of the chat and conversations. Everybody's respectful, so just thank you for rocking out with us. You can catch me on Twitter X Donte J Moody. You catch me on Xbox, Spriggan113. You can catch me up on IG going live like Shannon Sharp. Holla at your boy. No, just kidding. Thank you for coming out and checking this out. We'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hit the like button. Share us out. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. Papa Bocco 72 with the 499 said, Shiba dog riding with a brush, riding number one on a piece of... Oh, it's a picture. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, man. Those.
It's funny seeing it on here and then looking on the actual
He was
chat.
actually reading it like it was like
Right.
I didn't know. I was like, this is a weird super chat, man. What's this?
Yeah.
Riding number one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say it if you want me to say it, but
Oh man, EV Max, you gotta sort that stuff out. The program I use doesn't have the pitch, not all the pictures. Me guys in the chat, absolutely fantastic. You guys coming through and supporting us every week, really appreciate it. Sorry about last week's show. We are gonna start doing a pre-record every second week. We are gonna go live the week after that, so we'll have different topics and things we'll talk about. We'll talk about that later on. But you guys supporting us every week to come through, we really appreciate you for 135 shows. Thank you very much. Bobby Hawk says thinking face.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway, hit the like button on your way out. I really appreciate all you guys. And we'll see you all next week. Or the week up, whenever.
Later, family.
Salutations. Welcome to the show.